Hi, and welcome to Inkwell Society here on twitch.tv/D&D. What are you guys doing?
We're looking.
Are you doing the eye contact?
We're eye contacting.
Eye contact. Thanks for coming in and tuning in on a Wednesday here in the middle of usually what is most people's holiday break. We are going to go ahead and probably knock out a couple of announcements here real fast. And did we already ran the intro? Yeah? Great. So then we don't have to do that. And then we can kind of move right into a game. So you guys have probably noticed that we're in a little bit different setup than usual. And what that means is that we're going to do a little bit different style of game. We obviously don't have Sig here, who is with Tupac Shakur in surgery.
That's bad. Well, it's his dog.
He's in surgery with Tupac Shakur.
Okay.
That's his dog.
Yeah, just so people don't really think he's with Tupac.
Is that his corgi?
That could lead to some
corgi.
East Coast shootings. East Coast, West Coast shootings.
His name is Tupac Shakur, by the way.
Tupac Shakur.
Oh.
The best name.
So what we're going to do is we're going to run a little bit of off the table, and we are going to then move to some Q&A, something where we've noticed that a lot of fans have been wondering about the psychology of the characters and what their backstories kind of better entail versus on basically of what you guys have revealed already in the episode. And if there's anything else that you would like to reveal, we obviously don't want to jump into a bunch of spoilers or anything like that, but we do want to kind of catch people up on where you're coming from and give them a little bit more insight on why you approach certain situations the way you do, and sometimes from like behind a counter. So with that, we're going to jump to announcements.
So, of course, everybody should go and check out World Anvil, worldanvil.com. They make all kinds of cool campaign things, maps, timelines, notes, things to keep your campaign on track. Also, we've got the Rook and the Raven, who make this great little diaries. You can jot down all of your character notes for your campaign stories, and they're really cool. You should go check them out. They come with little pockets for putting all kinds of things in it. Of course, Wormwood, as you can see, makes these wonderful dice trays, some with Maze Arcana logos on them. They're great, Maze Arc. You can always see them at wormwood.com. TheRookandTheRaven.com, by the way, and worldanvil.com. Extra Life is still going on. We've only got a couple weeks left, I think.
Oh, yeah.
It's just less than a week. No, 2 weeks. 2 weeks from yesterday, and for the end of the year. And you can actually unlock the last of Chris Lindsay's special secrets. Was it 2 books in Adventure Leagues next year?
+2.
Yeah. So if you really want to have cool characters, you better make sure that that unlocks. Go give them some fun and help kids at the same time. Campaign Coins. Campaign Coins is a wonderful place where you can get all kinds of neat little nifty things for your campaign to hand out. Instead of notes of money, you can hand out piles of money, literal money that's only good in your campaign. Don't spend it at the 7-Eleven. They really don't take that. You can get that at campaigncoins.com. Idle Champions, of course. Go download Idle Champions on Xbox, PS4 now, both of them. Plus Steam is out there. You can go play Vanya. Maybe play with RPG, casting spells for you.
I'll be on there on twitch.tv/D&D tomorrow.
Yeah,
talking
interviews?
about Flanya on Idle Champions.
Idle Champions doing all their wonderful character interviews every noon this week.
Mm-hmm.
You can go catch them then and see all the people talking about the crazy things that let them become characters in Idle Champions. Of course, we've got Sirens, who was on last night. They're having a Christmas special coming up.
Yeah.
It's
actually an 11-episode marathon.
Oh.
Starts at 1 a.m. on Christmas.
For how many hours total?
I think it's like 30. It's 11 episodes.
3-hour episodes
3
each?
hour, yeah.
33 hours.
That's more than there are hours in the day.
That's more than a day's worth of gaming. Of course, Dungeon Master's Guide on Sundays. We can talk about all kinds of cool things to learn how to run 33-hour games. Probably lots of coffee.
Yeah, that's on. That starts up in January.
So that's coming the
Either the
7th?
6th,
No.
either the 6th or a different day.
Okay. But you'll get notices as the exact release once they're up.
Kyle, just as an aside, where are your car keys?
In my pocket.
Okay.
We need to take my car out for a wash. That's okay.
It's raining. It's already getting.
It's raining campaign coins on Kyle's car.
I don't know why. Of course, live action role play with Kai,
It's pretty good.
Cynthia, and Ryan. And today they just put out a new podcast.
We did.
And what were you talking about this week on your podcast?
We were talking about the importance of, in LARP and also general roleplay, how important it is for having good NPCs and how to play and make good NPCs. For example, one of the reasons why Rudy's games are so good is because he puts so much time into them and then usually has them stab us in the back.
And that all
Usually.
good.
You mean established in the background?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Sure.
Those letters are all there.
Establish in the back /
Torturous.
establish. in
And
the
not all the good
background.
PCs are good PCs. A lot of times they're bad people.
Well, everybody has their own motives.
Felix feels he's completely
Nobody thinks they're
justified.
We'll get to Felix's feelings here
No bad
in a
guy
little
ever
bit.
thinks they're the bad guy.
That's true. But you could also go back and see or listen to, because you're not going to see it, but you could also go back and listen to, Satine has done a guest on there as well, and I did, and we talked about creating characters and about the psychology of good communication, I think.
Yep. Communication is a very popular topic for us, and it's there's a lot of layers to it, just like ogres and onions and things like that.
Parfaits.
Them too.
Yeah.
And cake.
And trifles.
Truffles.
Now I'm hungry.
Trifles?
Trifle truffles.
Trifle.
Very small.
Trifle and truffles?
Very, very small truffles.
So we also have this,
Speaking of wormwood,
speaking of wormwood, in which you could have a very special little
secret coded.
secret code in what Kyle likes to call Elder Script. But it is a wormwood dice, and you can fit a character in here too, holder. And you can have this one specifically. The way that you would get this is not by raffle, not by pure luck, but by putting in a little bit of effort. Sounds scary? Of course it does. What we're looking for here is to see what you are inspired by. We want to know what kind of fan art, or maybe music, or maybe anything really. Like, what inspires you to about the Inkwell characters? Sticking around till after our little off the table session, you'll be able to get a little bit more insight into them that might inspire you a little bit more. But essentially what we're going to be looking for is a few of those. We'll each have one of the characters select one of their favorites, and then we'll put the vote out to you as the community. And in that, you will be able to select who gets that awesome piece of hardwood.
You get to vote because it's a democratic.
Republic
Cause science.
science. And that was Steve that you saw there darting in and out. What's your question?
You say this about you say that we're like not using a table, but we've got a table right here. It's like right here.
Yes,
It's a different.
it's a different table.
It's a different table.
But yes, you get to vote.
If you
for
want to
the
make things
office table.
difficult, I can move the table.
Oh,
I'm used
it's
to
gonna
it.
make rolling real difficult.
It would. I guess that's just auto fails.
But yeah, you guys get to vote on the winner, and that's Dungeons and Democracy right there in
Or-
action.
Dungeons and Democracy. It's a different game.
Dungeons and Democracy. Coming, Birthright 2, Dungeons and Democracy.
First setting, Gitmo.
Yeah. Anything else?
Yeah. Of course, this month, Encounter Roleplay is. No, wait, sorry, my bad. For this month, we've got a special going on for, who is it? God, somebody's raising money for all the kids. I want to say.
That was World Builders.
World Builders.
But
That's
I think
right.
that just finished.
Did it
World
finish?
Builders
It
did.
hit like 1.3.
I think it was
Wow.
$1.3 million
That's
finished
a
last
lot
week.
of books and games for kids at the schools.
Cows and bees.
Yeah.
Yeah, like not just like it's not just for books and stuff like that, but they actually provide a lot of services to communities that help to
Oh.
enrich it based off of the actual planet in the world like that. So it's
There you go.
it can be it's actual world building where like they will take a colony of bees and put them into a setting where they can actually help produce honey and help pollinate some of the surrounding areas.
So you set up apiaries.
Mhm.
Cool.
So that's one of the things.
Seems pretty sweet.
So we had Idle
It
Champions
is
rocking
very,
out.
very sweet.
Yeah, very
Queen.
like honey.
Mhm.
Maybe molasses.
No, that comes from something else.
Hmm
All right.
Science is wrong.
Yes. Bees do not make molasses.
Correct.
Except by keeping the trees alive.
Correct.
I think that's all we've got for announcements, other than make sure to pay attention tonight afterwards. You can hear about all of our other sponsors who help let you see us game every week.
Yep. Specifically, we've got some really awesome level up dice that the
Level up
team
dice?
is grabbing.
You can get those at, if you're in the States, usa.levelupdice.net.
Hmm And you can pretty much find them at any convention that you go to. They have a beautiful booth that goes up at the.
It makes me feel so fancy.
They're on the roll, really.
Yeah.
I'm expecting them to start showing up at places like you don't expect, like Walmart and.
I kind of don't think they'll ever be in Walmart. I just
Yeah.
have this odd feeling.
To be honest-
Bloomingdale's level.
To be honest, yeah, Walmart's
What was
probably
the store?
To be honest, Walmart's kind of a pain to deal with.
What was the store in Happy's? In Happy?
Oh,
Happy?
Gimbals.
Oh,
Gimbals.
Ah, you can tell what we've been watching this holiday season. So with that there, if you have a question for the cast, go ahead and make sure you write it out in all caps, just question in all caps, not the whole question. Question in all caps, put a little colon, and then go ahead and write out your question. Nick and Chicken in chat and some of the other mods will be consolidating those questions down and sending them to me on my phone, and I will ask the questions to the cast.
And after the questions, we get to ask questions in game.
That's so many questions.
So many questions.
I got a note though.
So many of the questions, or so many of these questions will be answered in character. What do we
Looks
got?
like I got a new phone in my car.
What is that?
This is the note that I found.
Oh, this is the note.
Okay.
We'll deal with that
I
later.
feel like we already solved it though.
I don't know. I don't even know which note. Like you act like that's the first
Is it
note I
like
gave
it's
you.
the one you
It's
found in the
ones
chair.
in the Harmatio chair.
It's
okay.
Latch's note.
So, is everybody ready?
Oui.
We?
Do we have questions?
Oh no, I'm gonna start our game.
Oh, we're gaming first.
Okay, let's do it.
That's the wrong one. This one. A spark of lightning, a crack of thunder, blood thinning in the rain puddles below as Felix stands over his friend, ignoring the hair matted to his forehead, a gentle coif circling about his eyes. Grizz limps down to the street level with Laucian's help. They look both ways, then nod back to Rose, who corrals two young girls with platinum blonde hair under her arms. Grizz casts a long glance back at his frenemy, Felix, before Laucian spots the Sharnwatch sky coaches descending onto the boulevard and pulls Grizz along. A few hours later, as the sun drifts up through the clouds and starts to arc in the direction of Droam, Felix sits at the Gate of Gold Jarasco Infirmary at Polly's bedside, watching the rise and fall of his massive chest. A long shadow darkens the linen sheets and falls across Felix's face. What do you do?
For the time being, I'm ignoring them.
The soft steps of cloven hooves slightly muffled across the floor as the shadow goes from long to wide. Looming over you, the scent of sweat and fur. and get a dash of perfume as the sweet cadence of a little Southern Braylon charm drifts into your ears. Oh, sugar, you've been up all night. You've been here. Why don't you let me take a shift?
It's fine. You can stay as well, but I should be here.
I appreciate that. And I'm sure Polly does too. I wouldn't mind having some of my alone time with him, though, if you know what I mean.
Sure.
My name's Bonnie, by the way.
Felix.
I wish we met under better circumstances.
I guess the date didn't go as planned, huh?
The day?
Date.
The date was wonderful.
Oh.
But maybe the next day didn't go as well as we thought.
Mm.
So with that,
Stand up, say my farewells, and leave.
you see her take the chair that you were standing in, or sitting in as you make your way around to the door and out into the hallway. When you two left the police precinct, where did you go?
The only place for the safety of the kids.
The morgue?
No. Old Dominion.
Oh, yeah, okay.
They could play in the dresses. Robert will love it.
And
He's not going to love it. That was a sarcasm.
you could change clothes out of that watch uniform.
I hate this thing. Yes, that's a good idea. Okay.
And I know that we could put Grizz down in the basement.
Oh, yeah, he needs to sleep.
He needs to do more than sleep, but yeah. He's kind of hurt.
Yeah. Okay.
Felix, as you make your way out of the infirmary, you overhear two halflings talking. You can't quite make out what they are saying, at least until you give me a perception check. While he does that, the two of you make your way to the Old Dominion with the girls in tow. You make your way into the lower levels. Where do you head as you're getting there probably about the, just before opening, the night before. So I should actually have probably done this in a slightly more linear fashion, but we'll finish you guys out and then we'll go back to Felix.
I would go, and since Grizz is going to be kind of obvious anywhere except for a back room or downstairs, I'll probably take him downstairs. So go to the basement door if it's open.
Okay. So you head around the back to kind of like where the dressing rooms are, and then down. The room that you had originally needed a code for seems to be ajar.
Okay. Go towards it, putting Grizz out in front. No. Put Grizz up against the wall and go stick my head in and make sure nobody's in it. And
It looks empty.
okay, then I'll take him in and set him down in there. If there's a way to get, if there's anything like a sack or something to put on the floor before I just put him on a cold stone floor, I'll do that. But
You can scrounge around in the supply room.
just make him semi-comfortable.
Yeah. You can scrounge around in the supply room that was adjacent to that. Basically, this hallway looks like almost like a sword. It's got the cross hilt. Where to your left, that one is where the outfits and all of the interesting costuming would be. To the right is where the majority of the storage space would be for events, for chairs that get broken during brawls, whatever you have there. That's where even some of the decorations for festivities that might happen around the year are stored, as well as some of the dried cured meats, etc., waiting to hit the kitchen, and large casks and other bottles of semi-precious liquids. The room that you have gone into has been mostly cleared out. Seems to only have slight residue left over from some of the things that were there before. And you are able to take some of the tablecloths and whatnot from the other room from storage and move it into the vacancy.
Okay. I'll pocket some Grizz jerky too.
Okay. All right. From?
The stores, the dried meats that was in.
Okay.
Take a little bit.
All right, sounds good. So as you guys spend some time, what do you do with the kids?
I make a nest for them.
Okay.
I make a nest in the dressing room, and I make little beds for them, and I get some wigs, and I dress them up.
Okay.
Make them comfortable, but also so they're not so obvious.
All right. And the two of you kind of finish with your tasks and walk back into the hallway at the same time, checking in with each other.
Yeah, they'll stay in here.
Oh, okay. They're safe?
We gotta get them food.
Oh, I'm pretty sure they've got some food in the kitchen.
Oh, in the other room.
The kitchen, upstairs.
Oh, yes, but they should not know that.
There's some storage food over there.
That's what I'm talking
I
about.
mean, it's not cooked.
It doesn't. What?
I mean,
Oh,
there's no kitchen. It's not cooked. It's stored.
okay. Well, maybe they have some bread or something.
Oh, okay. I mean, we still got some donuts. Well, I had some donuts. I think I left them.
I'm just going to make sure they know that this is a safe place.
Where's Felix?
I don't know. I can only think of one thing at a time. I've got to protect these girls. He can take care of himself.
No? You should talk to him about a raise, too.
I know. That's true. I go back in the room and talk to the girls.
Okay. And from the upper level, you can hear boots on the staircase coming down, making its way around the corner. And you look up to see Cad, who is a little curious.
Hi, Kat. Hi, Kat. I have some cousins over here. We're playing dress up.
Oh.
Okay.
Hi, Lausian. What are you doing
He's
down?
not playing dress up.
No, I was helping.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I guess that explains what you're doing down here, but you really shouldn't be down here.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Rose, why would you just bring your, did you say cousins?
Yes, they're like my niece's cousins.
Your niece's cousins?
No, they're my nieces, but they're cousins. They're young cousins. I don't know what else to call them. They call me auntie.
What does this look like to you? The shadow marches?
What?
Never mind.
Cad?
Yes.
Anyways,
I
we're just
remember
trying.
Latch was talking about some children that need to be protected, right?
Yes.
These are some children that need to be protected.
Oh yeah, they could.
So they're cousins.
Oh. Okay. All right.
Yes, they're cousins.
So then, should I alert the...
No,
Not yet.
we just want them to hang out for a while until we figure out what's going on. This is a perfect place for little girls.
We think we know.
Sparkles. I hold up a dress. Sparkles.
We think we know some of the things that led to the attack on Latch.
Oh. Okay. Have either of you seen Felix? And we cut to
A 14 on the dice.
a 14. So you are able to overhear two halflings talking about a large minotaur with massive internal hemorrhaging. And he's lucky that he was at the Sharn Watch precinct and able to be brought here so soon. But in critical condition, they're not sure that they have the resources to save him. He apparently is in stable but critical condition and unconscious.
Felix is gonna approach them.
Okay, so you walk you stop your direction, you turn to them.
Are you talking about Polly and gesture to the room that I came from?
Who?
The large minotaur. His name is Polly.
Paul? We wouldn't really tell you if we could.
Is there anything I can do to help? Do you need a specialist, or are there any things that would help that situation? He's my friend.
Well, you know, we are, And you see them kind of like nonchalantly move or adjust to where you can see the dragon marks on their skin. They're like, we're pretty much the most specialist we could be, but if you got any other ideas, we'd be open to them.
I'm more asking if there's anything I can do to help you save my friend.
Oh, are you you're a medical professional?
No.
You have any magic that gets you around that?
Look, I'm not trying to pick a fight or anything. I'm just
Who is?
concerned for my friend, and you don't need to give me any attitude on it. I'm just here asking if there's anything I can potentially do to make your lives easier doing this, because I care about my friend surviving.
Would you like to take a seat, Matt?
Sure.
One of them like turns around and walks off, and then the one that was just asked you to sit, kind of like doesn't full squat down because he's a halfling, doesn't fully kneel, just kind of like a mid, kind of bends over to you, and it's like, so Boyo, you know, we're doing our best here, and we were actually trying to take a little bit of an inventory from you to see what you had. No one was picking a fight. And at that time, the other one comes back with a cup of tea and hands it over to you. He takes
Kind
it.
of passively take it, and I... Would any, would magic help him in any way?
Well, you mean magic beyond what we have?
I don't know what kind of magic you have.
Well, we're kind of known as the Healing House.
Fair.
You got any of that kind of blood in you?
No, not especially.
Well, so we dragon marked. We have our own special niches.
Of course.
And ours just happens to be not the one of the other halflings who you might be more familiar with. Those Galanda types are over there having their little parties in the inns, leaving us to do all the cleanup for them after they start the brawls.
Of course.
But we tend to be the ones that use our dragon marks for good. And coin, of course, but good.
Of course.
If you have more, perhaps I can see if there are any of our cousins who might be up in the upper levels, who might have more expertise with his folk.
Do you know how much coin would help attract that kind of attention?
Oh, maybe close to a dragon or two.
As an out of character, how much is that roughly?
It's platinum dragon.
Ugh. Way past. All right.
100 silver total.
Yeah. Okay. Ouch. Ouch. All right. I don't think we really have means for that sort of money.
Well, it's okay. You're not the first down here, and it's all right. We'll do our best to keep him well. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything else we can be doing for you?
No, it's fine. Thank you. And thank you for the tea.
Oh yeah.
At this point, considering I've cast a few healing spells on people, do I think a healing spell from Ifrai might help?
Probably not.
No.
Not enough to bring him back from where he is right now.
Okay.
And you would know that Jurasco healers have access to probably anything that DeVry could get you at this point.
Yeah. Okay.
But as they kind of get up and start to turn away, they go, you know, if you leave your address at the desk, we'll make sure to send a runner when he wakes up.
Thank you. I think I will.
All right. And they go back dealing with the charts and stuff from some of the other rooms and cots in their infirmary. After, how long do you stay there?
I think Felix would probably nervously go and check on him one more time before he left, just to peek in the doorway and see if he's okay before, assuming he's all right, before heading and leaving his information, and heading out of there.
Okay.
Yeah.
As you start to make your way out, heading towards the Old Dominion, somewhere along the road, you feel an itchy kind of burning underneath your bracer. And then a little discomfort as it seems to get tighter. And a little wiggling happens, and then DeVry kind of pulls himself out and then dips into your coat and scurries his way up to your shoulder. So, I got some news. You looked pretty busy, so I didn't want to say anything. But now seems to be the best time, maybe, and I got a summons.
You have a summons?
Mm-hmm.
Or we have a summons?
They don't really know about you yet.
Oh.
So, you might not know how the whole genie thing kind of works. There are greater gen who tend to accumulate a lot of assets, and usually lesser gen are considered assets. So I kind of have I'm just gonna call him an oppressor. And on the plus, I get more power the more that I do for him, which means I can help you, and maybe one day we can not have an oppressor anymore.
Become more of a free agent?
Yeah, or, have our own. Because that's kind of the way of things. So, I'm probably going to have to go for a little bit.
All right.
Got an errand to run. But if you need me, I'll try to keep an ear out.
Noted. The talents that you've bestowed, are those going to be staying while you are taking this errand?
Oh, yeah. We have a deal.
Yes, I remember. Let me know if you need a hand with your situation.
Do you mean that figuratively?
No, I mean that in the phrase that if...
Literally?
Your responsibilities probably become, to a degree, my responsibilities. As you rise in power, I benefit from that as well. We are, for intents and purposes, working together.
Yeah.
So if you need help with a solution...
I could use some sustenance from time to time.
How would you get that?
Well, it's a little hard for me to operate out in the open here, so, from time to time, just the essence of others usually tends to do a pretty good job. Could be, for the size that I'm at right now, the elementals are great. Maybe a gnome here or there, or a stray cat. Not...
How long does it take you to gain this essence?
Oh, well, I can siphon it relatively quickly. I don't need the body or anything. It's just the...
Does that get left behind?
Yeah. Unless we...
Make it disappear.
Yeah.
How big a body can you get rid of?
How big a vat do you have?
I was asking more how big a body you can get rid of.
I can take the essence of just about anything. The bigger, the longer it takes.
All right.
The nastier, sometimes the better.
All right.
But sometimes, power's power.
It often is.
And I don't want to take your power. I think our arrangement is very beneficial.
I think a better description of it is our power.
I'll take that. So maybe when I come back, if I do a good job, I'll have something else for you.
All right.
In the meantime, if you could maybe procure me a mote of fire or something from the forge, that could be nice. I'm sure Illithorn wouldn't miss one.
I'll see what can be done. What do I know of a mote of fire?
You would usually say that for the large kind of ever-burning vats that are in the forges, that those motes are usually stored to help keep the molten liquid molten.
So this is an elemental bound in a small little object?
Yeah,
Or-
kinda.
yeah.
It's more like the kind of like the essence of one. It's not a sentient. Most elementals are actually sentient.
Okay.
But they can be in a they're kind of like in an ignorant bliss most of the time. Like they're not really aware of their surroundings, especially if they are contained within a kyber shard, which is kyber shards are the ones that the dragon shards that are used most for binding.
Okay.
The bigger the elemental, the larger the shard needs to be, or it needs to be some amalgamation of a Sybaris shard and a kyber shard.
Okay.
Eberron shards are usually used in the creation of magic items. So if it were going to be a magical vat that contained the mote, it might be that it is made with special augmentations of just Eberron shards or a grouping of both, unless it is a massive vat or using very, maybe magical metals that require a much higher melting point.
Okay.
Might have all three. But Sybaris shards are pretty much only used in the enhancement or augmentation of magic that is usually helpful for dragon marks.
Okay. These shards, are they kind of small artifacts? Are they more just a rune that's carved onto something? Or
So a shard is like a little crystal.
Okay.
And they can be...
Any kind of size? All right.
So for a small fire mote, something like that,
Are they fragile or pretty resilient?
I would say it depends on the size.
Okay, great. I think not immediately, but in the future, Felix might try and take his old forge master up on picking up the occasional odd job in the forge,
Yeah.
and in order to maybe get proximity to one.
Okay. So as you bid good luck to DeVry and Felix, you feel now a little bit cooler. The rain seems to affect you a little bit more. The atmosphere is actually a little bit more akin to what everybody else was normally feeling, as the temperature of your core body temperature kind of drops a few degrees as he is no longer in your immediate proximity. When you arrive at the Old Dominion, you find... Well, where are you two now?
Be upstairs, sitting around the bar like normal.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would have expressed to the girls that this is a safe waiting area and I'll be back for them, but they can play all the imagination games they want here.
As long as they stay in the room.
Yeah.
Okay.
Take a short rest.
And if they want to hide, they can hide in the outfits.
Okay. So it's pretty much going to be overnight. You guys can get away with a long rest while you're there. The next day is kind of when Felix is going to make his appearance there. You guys have essentially kind of hid out. When Felix arrives in the early afternoon, before kind of like when Cad would be showing up to start for the next day, you can see Cad in the office upstairs going through the lockbox, and you two are down, I guess, sitting on a table, like at a table.
If there's no one else here, I would like to be on the stage with the girls and like kind of showing them how it is from up here and how fun things can be.
Oh, the two girls?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And spinning them around, dancing, and if I see Felix, I need a raise. And then I keep dancing with them.
Okay, so you are on the stage, twirling them about in their oversized dresses, playing make-believe showgirl. What are you doing?
Scribbling on napkins formula. Trying to figure out some things.
Okay, she's trying to figure out scribbling. And you walk into the Old Dominion to see Rose and two little girls spinning about on the stage, and Cad up in the office from the glass area.
They have a brunette hair and the blonde hair.
Okay, so you've given them wigs.
Oh, yes.
Okay. And then you see Laucian at the bar going through piles of your bar napkins, scribbling, moving to the next one, scribbling, and another stack forming up on the left side of him.
I'm gesture at the bar. I'm not surprised about that as I'm kind of walking past. This is new. When did we
Raise!
become a daycare? Never mind. And continue striding through the
Hi, Felix.
continue striding through to
Hi,
the
Felix.
upstairs office and wave to Laucian as I go.
Okay, so as the way the layout of the bar kind of goes is you have your front door. On the far distance there is where the stage is. To the left is where the laboratories and other things are. There's kind of like a little wall here. On the upper levels, there is a balcony where the card tables typically sit, any type of gambling. On the opposite side of that is where the office is, and the staircase is almost directly to the right as you come in. So you point at them, see Laucian at the bar that is underneath the office, and then you make your way up to where Cad is.
Great.
As you open the door, Cad turns around and says, oh, good. So apparently we're opening an orphanage.
Yeah, we're gonna have to find somewhere else for them.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, this isn't a daycare.
Well, what's to be done in the meantime?
In the meantime, I'm going to go talk to Rose and find a solution. How were the numbers for her performance yesterday?
Well, people quite liked the signage. It was a good representation, a little salacious, which never hurts down here.
Good.
So, it appears that your notes were better than Latch's view on how to promote femininity.
I'm not sure I understand.
Somehow I'm not surprised. But, in the meantime, Siri, we can go through the numbers right now. So, what you're going to get right now is going to be a percentile roll with a base modifier of, what's your charisma? Both of you?
Charisma is 16.
Okay, so you have a score of 16, and Miss Phonics?
15.
15. So you have a base of 31 people that have been there,
Right.
that came to your performance, and the percentiles will tell us how many more showed up due to your advertising.
Okay.
Rose, you would get the percentiles on the next go round based on.
Acting?
Yeah, no, she's not gonna roll tonight.
43.
43. So 43 and 31.
Mm-hmm.
You guys had, that is 74.
That's a good turnout.
It's a pretty good turnout. So then now what we will let Satine do is roll to see how many drinks were purchased by these people.
Ooh.
Oh, with the double?
Yeah.
Oh boy. That is 98.
All right. So we will say that the average price at the moment of your drink list is probably a silver.
Okay.
That's from all the low copper swill all the way up to the occasional high-priced bone mead that is available. And with that, you've got 98 silver that came in and dropped into the lockbox. And then also, I don't recall there being a door fee. So should that change in the future due to demand,
And business. Yeah.
right? We'll see how your inventory of clientele and lockbox.
I think we had to bribe Thiessen once to get Grizz in.
Yeah, that's true.
You might have.
But that's because it's Grizz.
Without going too much into numbers, CAD, because that could take all day. Roughly, is that a good night? Is that above average, below average for the Dominion?
Well, considering the circumstances, I would say that it's a pretty good night for us. Obviously, it's not the best, but for our previous proprietor, not his recent demise, I'd say we're in a pretty, that's not a bad start.
It's something to build off of.
Right, we should make rent if we continue at this pace.
Great.
Did you need any of it?
No. I'll find out that in a little bit. We'll work out the proper amounts to pay our talent and so forth.
Okay.
I wasn't planning on immediately taking any myself. I would rather we invest and put a bit in and then take a bit out later.
That sounds like a pretty good plan.
More marketing seems more essential right now.
Marketing could be a good thing. We, the last one was a pretty good gamble. We went to the same sign shop, and luckily this one did not fall. But we were able to get that signage for only a couple of silver. And we could probably go back and get some more with some flashier lights, kind of like our sign before it fell.
That's good.
And we should probably get a new sign since the last one fell.
Yes.
So I suppose that I can try and put together a work order, and if Grizz wakes up, we can give him something to do besides stink up the lower areas. Could we maybe?
What? Where is he anyway?
Oh, Grizz is downstairs. I thought you knew.
I didn't see him downstairs.
Oh, no, downstairs.
Oh, the
In
basement.
Yes,
Ah,
in the room that was previously locked.
did you unlock that to throw him in there?
I didn't know.
All right, thank you. Do you need anything right now?
So maybe we should talk about the how much what our outgoing expenses are, at least in a broad view, so that you know what you can.
If you feel that is pertinent right now, then absolutely. If not, we can always cover that in a little bit.
Thiessen seems to be on leave, so we might need to consider what we can do for a replacement for a while. We have a door person for about 3 days a week right now, and we'll probably want to get back up to our standard 7, unless you would like to actually be closed for a certain number of days during the week.
I think more days consistency is better right now.
Would you rather be open 7 days, 5 days?
Let's go for at least 6
6 days.
for now.
Okay, so then we need to allocate another 3 days worth of pay for a door person. We could probably scrounge up some people on the lower scale, like a few silver a day, if that's something that you would like. But then there's always the questionability, you get what you pay for. So maybe if we splurge a little bit more on that, we can find some better reliable people. I did hear about a furbog somewhere that was decent, but I believe he's maybe made enough money that he's getting his own place or something.
Yes, I heard he got some landfall. Maybe, yes, I'm sure a Minotaur or maybe, they call bugbears?
There are some bugbears. The goblinoids can be
Rowdy.
easy to incite, but also bugbears tend to be pretty lazy.
Fair. All right, maybe even we could utilize Grizz a little bit if he's willing,
Okay.
potentially.
So would you like me
he
to...
needs to understand customer service first.
That's, and a bath.
Both, yes.
So perhaps I'll put together some numbers there so that you can see what would be the benefits.
All right.
And then, do you want to hire them as contractors or actual employees?
What would you suggest there?
It depends on how you want us to get taxed.
This, I will defer to you with this at the present time because...
Okay. And then one other thing is the showgirls.
Well, they should be paid appropriately.
Yes, they have been making roughly 5 copper a week. We were also only operating 5 days a week.
Oh, right.
Plus their tips that they would get from the people.
Of course. So let's go that as standard, and if we start to see an increase of profits, everyone around the board is going to get a raise.
Okay, do you want to make an increase for the headlining talent that you've created, or should we maybe search for new talent as well?
I think we...
Bring in bigger talent already. I can talk to the ringmaster and see if she has any additional talents.
By all means, let's look into that. I don't think it would be... I feel that we would be wearing Rose's voice and some of our other singers out if we try to push them too far, so absolutely scout, but we should definitely consider a little bit more for our opening headliner.
All right. And speaking of wearing things out, Latch on occasion, and the ringmaster is sort of known for being able to provide additional services. Do we want to entertain anything like that? My advice would be maybe not, but then again, in this area, we might...
I'm going to defer to your advice on that initially, and if we start seeing problems with profits, we can look into that later.
I was more worried about the problems with maybe the underworld wondering why we're not.
What would you suggest in that case, then? You would prefer we don't, but that could lead to...
Maybe I'll compose my thoughts a little better, and we'll have a conversation about it soon.
Fair enough.
In the meantime, here's... do you have all the keys or just the front door?
I have the front door at present.
Okay. So let me show you something. He walks around to the desk and he shows you where the vault in the floor is.
Right.
He shows you how to open it.
Okay.
And he also pulls out of there a small key ring.
Okay.
Which has a number of keys, including one that looks like an inverse needle.
An inverse needle?
Yeah.
I don't even know what an inverse needle is.
So like a needle, this would be like the sheath for a needle.
Conical.
Oh, okay. I think. All right.
So he sees you looking at that one a little odd, and he goes, that's to reset the mechanism.
Oh, with the door downstairs.
Right, or when you put it in there prior to turning it, it won't pierce through it.
That makes sense. Great. Thank you.
Absolutely. So you have a set of those. I would not advise making too many copies or letting people know that you have them. If you have any type of special pockets or something, you might want to make that, you know. You could also leave them here and keep them locked up in the safe if you wanted to. But there's a backdoor key there, which, since you have the girls, it might be a good idea to take them that way.
I'm gonna pop the backdoor key off and then put the rest in the safe.
Okay. As you finish up, he goes back to the ledger and counting through and starting to make adjustments. And you can make your way back out now unless there's anything else you'd like to look at in the office.
Can't think of anything immediately.
Okay. So as you make your way downstairs, you hear again from the stage. Oh, what? What? Oh, what?
Oh, before I leave, do we have a hose out back anywhere?
A hose?
A hose for some water.
Not really.
I'm gonna have to work out another way of giving him a bath then. Thank you.
If you want, we could maybe put in some additional plumbing downstairs.
No, it was more for the idea of just the convenience of cleaning the shifter.
I see. You could get some of the buckets from the kitchen.
That might work.
Okay.
I'm sure we can find a broom and some kind of cleaning solution as well and give him a scrub.
Oh, that reminds me. We've pretty much only been serving a late night cuisine. You know what? Never mind. We'll deal with it later.
All right, great.
So as you make your way downstairs, what were you going to say?
I'm now by the bar with the girls. I'm at the bar with the girls, and they have milk and cookies, except for I've got the cookies all over my face.
Where'd the cookies come from?
They come from the kitchen.
Is there a kitchen?
I've been here all night.
There's a kitchen. Okay. Roll me a... Man. We're just going to say that this is a performance check.
Cookie Monster roll?
Cookie Monster. 19.
A 19. Despite your questionable breakfast making skills, cookies, at least with the instructions, are something that is somewhat akin to you.
I made them?
You were showing off. Perhaps it was luck. But you were showing off for the girls, and it does not appear that either of them were burned in the process.
The children
Nor
or the
you.
cookies?
Well, I would say that it looks like everybody got out of this one alive.
Okay.
Without too much incident.
Except for the cookies on my face.
Sure. You got face cookie going
And a
on.
milk and mustache.
And you have a milk mustache. Laucian? You were sitting on the bar next to two little girls and a larger little girl with a milk mustache and cookie beard.
I'm the only one that has that, though. They're very clean.
Are they? Two orphans? Roll
So
me.
3 of them, huh?
Yeah, right. Roll me a persuasion check.
It's a natural 20.
They are, despite your example, they actually seem to be enamored with the things you say. Perhaps that is a sign of things to come.
Yeah. Do as I say and not as I do.
Seems to be. Laucian, you were sitting next to one cookie beard, milk mustached young lady. What do you think?
I gave him a cookie. I put it on a napkin.
On a napkin?
Not on one. He already drew an empty one.
Oh, thank you.
And what is it you're trying to figure out over there so desperately?
Mage hand, hold the cookie. Oh, nothing. Mostly just working through things about magical formulae and things that might work in the future, based upon some research, but nothing in particular.
Make me an intelligence check. We'll call this Arcana since you're trying to work through magical.
That would be a 14.
A 14. Okay.
My dice.
Yeah, you lowered his roll by like 3. So you do feel like you're making some headway on some of your equations.
Yeah. You do magic, right?
Yeah, beat.
Yeah, I was looking at tonal shifts in order to do lacings on things by infusing other things into the standard evocations. It's really kind of neat.
Mine is more like art, less like the science.
Yeah, So what you do is you do tonal shifts.
This is why I'm glad I'm a sorcerer.
Hmm?
Said
What?
this is why I'm glad I'm a sorcerer.
You're a sorcerer?
Yes.
Oh. What sorceries do you do?
The hand lasery.
When
type.
did this
And
happen?
We need to wash Grizz.
I'm not washing Grizz. I already did that yesterday.
We
We
should
washed
figure out-
Grizz yesterday?
Yes.
We should figure out those clues too,
Washed his face. It was not easy.
because those letters are probably important.
Oh, there's like a woman or something. Alice.
Huh?
Alice, what?
Wasn't it Alice? A-L-I-C-E or something?
That's some of the letters. I thought it was iliac.
I don't know.
Iliac's like the top third of your of your small intestine. That's like where I think they were smuggling the
Oh,
the,
it's
the
not as
packages.
nice.
Remember? It was,
So basically, we found more writing on the foots
Oh, I see.
and which girls belong to which orphanages.
could be kale too.
And they all have different letters.
Do we know the order in which the girls were taken from the orphanages? Perhaps that was the order of the...
We know they were the tax.
Or where
The-
in the maps?
The two girls that were in that were from the police station.
They have names, and I hold them close.
Okay, what are their names?
Tell them your names. This is Felix.
Hi, Felix. I'm Russet.
Russet,
Yes.
like the potato.
Russet, like the color.
Ah,
And that's like the tiny one that's saying it. And then the other one, she looks at you, she goes, I'm Tawny.
I like this one. I like
Great.
you too, little one.
Tawny's from our district.
Yes. Tani can take care of herself. She's a strong woman.
so
Yes.
I'm good with a wrench.
Did they only give you a wrench?
Huh?
What did you do with a wrench?
I used to fix things at the orphanage.
Really?
I see. Did you get that wrench back?
What?
Where's your wrench?
I didn't have a wrench. I just said I used to fix things at the orphanage. I'm good with a wrench.
Oh. Well, that's good to know.
Can we go play again?
Yes, we're gonna go play. I just need to have a little conversation. Have more cookies. I'll bring you regular food later.
My stomach hurts from so many cookies.
Okay, here's some water.
Mm.
Soda
They
water. It's good
explode.
for your
They
belly.
explode. I swear. All right. So matters at hand. Is there? So Grizz is unconscious. Yes.
He got hurt a little bit.
Yeah, he
got
spends a
hurt
lot
the
of time
bad.
asleep.
I think he got a concussion or
No,
three.
he's a very bad.
I'm suspecting a lot of brain damage.
Oh, poor goodies.
Might
He's
not
very
Need
nice.
one of those to damage first.
Yeah, it might not be
That's
much
not
on top of the
nice.
others.
Pardon?
Might not be much damage on top of all the other damage.
You guys are so
It's
mean.
fine. It's
No, no, I'm
Oh,
serious.
that's true. He got hurt
I'm
really
serious. He had a lot
Yeah.
of headshot.
bad. He did. It was a big monkey with a bunch of arms.
Yeah. And I know you
Yes, I
had
saw that. I tried to jump away from that thing. Anyway,
How's Paulie?
Yeah.
he's not doing well.
Oh, is it crush syndrome?
Hmm?
Is it crush syndrome?
I have no idea what
Crush
you're talking about.
syndrome? The act of being crushed a lot?
Yeah, it does like all kinds of bad things to your whole body.
Yeah.
He got kind of hard crushed when he like slammed into the ground, I guess. But I suspect.
I don't know the name for it. They just said that he's in critical, and it's hard to tell if he's going to do all right or not.
Oh,
So anything we can potentially do,
make him comfortable.
great. But
You make him comfortable?
he's with his date right now.
He's got a date.
What's her name? She was hung out with her. She protected us.
Mm-hmm.
The Bonnie, yeah? Is it Bonnie?
So.
Bonnie.
Which one? Who's Bonnie?
Bonnie was the lady behind the desk, the other Minotaur, the smaller one. That's
Well,
his
Do
date.
either of you?
I thought that
have-
was his sister.
No.
I've seen
sister.
I've seen things floating around each of you when you've been managing things. Those little the magical things that do jobs for you.
Yeah.
Oh, our friends?
Could one or both of you maybe set some of those to work for cleaning Grizz? He smells real bad.
That's good. We should practice it anyway. I'm not very good at it.
Well, I'm pretty good at it.
Let's practice together. And then he's right. We should not get near him when that's happening. And he's already unconscious.
Mm-hmm.
He'll wake up shiny and clean.
Great. I'll fill a few buckets. I'm sure we can find some soap and some scrubbing brushes or something, and we can fix him up.
Okay. Because I'm not going back home to get my soap on him. No way.
Any concerns? You look troubled.
No?
That's just his face.
Yeah.
Don't judge him.
Judging. And he's the doctor.
Let's do the
so-
thing.
Yeah, Grizz is okay. He's just gotta recover.
How do I do the hand signals for this one?
What? Like,
To bring the servant, the invisible friends.
I don't know how you do it.
Show me how you do it.
I do it like this.
Doesn't work for you.
Gotta. Come on, buddy.
Did you recharge? You like
Oh yeah.
breathe and meditate and
Yes, I did.
okay. Hmm. I can take a few minutes and just take care of it.
So Lossian can take 10 minutes and go do a ritual for it. You will need to actually coax the unseen servant to existence with a spell slot and whatever means in which performance that you do so. You do not have the ritual caster feat, and you are not a ritual caster in general, like a wizard would be. So you actually have to spend the magic to get the servant.
So I actually start looking around and I go in the cupboard. Hello, buddy. What are you? Oh, I have a name for him. I forgot his name.
You want me to make a bathtub?
You
Oh,
can make a
what?
bathtub?
Yeah.
How can you make a bathtub?
Make a disc that holds things, and then we put water in it, and then put Grizz in it.
If it works, it works. I'm all for anything we need to do for washing him.
No. Okay.
Yeah. Great. So we can be concerned with that. What else do we need to be concerned with?
I think we should be concerned about who's actually the ones who are trying to kill off everybody who owns these nightclubs. And since you own a nightclub now, that means you're probably going to be targeted to be killed off pretty soon. Because they're
Yes,
probably going to
I
take
think-
over, and that means you're probably going to be in danger. So we probably figure out where they are so we could go and take and stop them. And then that means we probably need to talk to Millie and probably some of the other people who. And that's what we probably need to be doing now, because of course we don't know where they are or who they are or how they do it or what they're
While
doing.
this is going
Of course,
on,
then
I'm
there's the
going to
doctor
go
that
to the
starts
bar
to
and just
sound
pour myself a
like
light drink
sound
and
is.
just come back and
Maybe that's
sip it
Kale,
and watch
the
him.
sound. It could be the name of the guy who's like putting it on the person's leg. And then, since the girls get it grabbed on her feet with a brand, that might be for the doctor who did that.
I
Who told him how to
named
do the
him.
things. Who?
Duval.
Who's Duval?
Duval is my friend. I gotta find him. And I just start humming a tune and then da Duval.
Okay. As you do that, you feel like almost kind of like a little gust of wind, and as if like maybe a light glow of a spotlight starts to kind of swirl up from the floor and then like around you, and then just all of a sudden next to you, you feel the presence of an unseen servant.
That's pretty good sounding.
Thank you. It's new.
Well, he's unseen, so you don't know that he's there, really.
I saw swirls.
You did see swirls. You
That's
don't
what I
know the
said.
result.
It's pretty good sounding.
Thank you.
I'll assume that you crit your Arcana check.
Let's make the
He does
assumption.
He's just being nice to me, okay?
Whatever.
Don't make me spend 10 minutes to cast Detect Magic.
I thought you were already spending 10. Hey, in that 10 minutes, you can't talk, so they might be down.
He's
This is
Duval is well dressed in my head, and he has very large muscles, and has a very nice hair.
Okay.
And is invisible.
And is invisible.
But he's
So it's in
my
her
friend.
head. Yeah.
So I know what he looks like.
Essentially, she has summoned an imaginary friend.
Yes. And he is now going to wash a beast.
And, okay.
Yeah, I was going to do Tinser's Disc and just use that as a bathtub.
It's
Can
like a flat disc.
Is it? I thought it was
Yeah.
like curled so things don't fall off it when it's moving.
No.
Because it's a disc.
Oh, a disc, like a...
Tell you what.
Tensor's martini glass.
Yeah, tell you what. Make me an Arcana check to allow you to make it slightly concave.
That would be 19.
Okay, so you can make it roughly 19 degrees concave.
Okay.
So it will function sort of
Just
like
shallow.
a bathtub.
Shallow dish.
Shallow enough for him to drown in.
Face first.
All right, so that's one problem sort of getting solved. We're looking into potentially giving you a raise.
Thank you.
Once we've cleaned up Grizz, I'm wondering if we can find a vest that'll fit him and maybe a bow tie.
Oh, talk to Robert.
Why don't you talk to the tailor guy you talked about?
I would.
Oh, my guy?
Yeah, the tailor guy you said was helping
Oh, we should give him money. He was very nice to me.
Noted. Or
you.
we
Speaking
can-
of tailors, you should probably start seeing about putting together something and like cover our identities if people are going to be coming out to kill us if we're going to go out and do
What?
stuff.
Oh, like the lady with the mask.
Yeah, Scarlet Smoke.
Yeah, I knew who she was. She's trying to pretend that she didn't know me. She was mean to me without her mask on. And then she was sassy with it, but she did help me, so.
I was just thinking, maybe that would be a good thing to do was cover up your face,
like-
especially if you're a headliner and people are going to be seeing you all the time. And come here and kill you?
Ah,
That'd be bad.
that's a good
Lotion's
point.
making a
Because
very
I don't
good
want
point.
more work for that.
I like my face.
I'm not sure whether or not I can particularly craft disguises for other people or not with this kit.
I can do my own disguise.
Well, it's not really a disguise. It's more
I make my own mask.
wardrobe.
You did tailor a couple of cheap Sharn Watch costumes into a quasi-passable uniform.
And sorry about the blood on those.
Right.
Sorry about the blood on those.
Oh,
I mean, Grizz is destroyed.
I burned mine.
I'm
so.
also pretty sure that there might be. Well, I don't know for sure. I'm hoping that there might be a couple of bouncer uniforms downstairs, or at least something resembling a vest and a bow tie to give some degree of proprietary.
That's true. Yes, we could go downstairs and take inventory.
Of
I
course.
mean, I've just been playing, so you kind of made a mess.
So, we don't. We gonna figure out the name of those letters or what those letters are
Yes.
Yes. So, based on the order of the girls being arrested, 20 was the second girl.
for? Yes.
What was the letter on her foot?
I believe Tawny's was.
If we base them on the order of the sequence of events, I believe 20 was the second to actually attack someone.
If you want to look, you can just look at Tawny's foot, but it's a C.
Bonnie, let me see your foot.
It's just a C.
All right, who was? And it's somewhat safe to imagine that our the small girl next to 20.
Russet?
Yes,
She had an A.
she had an A, AC.
But was Tawny the second one?
I don't know. I think so.
Was Latch the first one to die?
So many notes.
You really don't have a way to discern a chronological order unless maybe Polly has pieced it together, but I would say that's unlikely. The only other way would be to actually go to each one and check and see with a date they might have gone missing.
Disappeared?
But that also might not be a true indicator because they could have disappeared and then shown up doing whatever it was.
True.
All we really know is that Tawny was before. I think it was Audie? No, Auntie.
Why don't
No,
the
Auntie
three
was-
of you give me intelligence checks?
I'm not good at this. I'm not good at. Wait, no, actually, I might
You
be
should
good at
be.
this. I'm okay with this.
And Kyle's gonna roll high
16.
anyway.
I got
I'm not a
24.
dummy.
Oh god.
That's just like a straight intelligence roll, not a save.
Straight intelligence, I got an 8. Well, I got a 16 plus 2, so.
Okay, so as you guys are talking, you kind of going through, you realize that there's really no correlation that you can tell for the chronology of when they dipped out. So
that's a
the
doubt.
letters do not seem to be connected by that, at least as far as to your
Russet.
best guess.
Russet said the doctor who came in and looked at them, his name started with a sound.
Yes.
There's a C letter here. That's a sound in
Is
some
that her
languages.
foot? Is that
Yeah.
on her foot?
It was on Tawny's foot.
Oh.
But we don't know who that doctor is. It just starts the
We
sound.
could just
The-
go and see.
Where?
The,
Yeah. We went to all the different
the little
languages.
the little weed whacker that kept on turning into the large monsters. Did we ever find out his identity?
Oh, he told us like his
He has a stage
Name.
name.
not really his
He's
name.
also
name.
now.
I don't know. Maybe he's at the morgue by now, and I can go take a look. But
Okay, it's a business card.
well,
name
no. I
tag.
mean, he was kind of flattened when Polly fell on him.
Or
Yes.
like written on his tag, like his mom would do.
Underwear, maybe.
No, we tend to use magic to identify who it is.
No.
Oh,
Yeah.
is that a spell?
Yeah, you get information about objects, and once you're dead, the body is pretty much an object.
Oh, very
Ew.
true. Yes.
That was not something I was aware of, or necessarily. Yikes! Why didn't we do?
What?
Lotion, why didn't we use that on the assassin that we got rid of?
Because I didn't know it then. I don't know it now.
Do you know anyone who has it?
Hmm. I can pick it up, but it takes a little time. I've got to make some tests and learn some things in order to do that.
I'm gonna make a
I mean, if you want
point.
to pay for that, I can always do that.
We gotta make a point of keeping hold of.
Dead bodies?
Well, no, just maybe the fingers.
Mm-hmm.
How much of a body do you need to find out the identity of someone?
I haven't done that experiment yet.
I read
All right.
somewhere about DNA. I don't know what it means, but it has something to do with the body.
Oh yeah, I've heard of
That
that.
sounds like nonsense. All right. So, what are the other potentials of these letters? Were there how many different bars were there? Were there 5 bars, or were there more than 5 bars that were hit?
Right now,
I don't have my notes on me.
Is it ALICE? Or those are the.
Those are the letters, if you want to put them in that order. And I still think it's iliac. I mean, that makes medical sense.
It's true, it does. So you guys sort of deliberate over this. Are your unseen servants actually going to wash?
Oh,
I
yeah.
hope so.
Okay,
Yeah, they're doing that all.
that'll be fun for later. While you guys are kind of having this conversation over the next few hours while you're trying to piece things together, there you can start to see the sun reach its apex. You start to get hungry. You go into the kitchen, you realize there's a mess. Because while she made exquisite cookies, Rose is maybe not the...
I didn't get paid for doing that.
Rose, I really hope that the costume department doesn't look anything like the kitchen after you've been through it.
Cannot promise you
Do
anything.
you go to inspect?
Yeah.
I told you we have to make inventory.
So when you get down there, especially considering that she left the children down there by themselves for quite some time, there are racks that are toppled over.
I
There's
made
stuff.
nests.
I know you made nests, but they're not cages, right?
No, no.
Yeah. So there's more than nests. It's almost like there are garments that have been torn from the hangers. There are feathers everywhere from different boas. Essentially, the majority of the inventory has been either tried on or attempted to be tried on in various segments, and some of it may not be salvageable.
Mending.
Mending
Rose?
can take some time if you're going to
Yes.
do that.
Robert may possibly kill you. And I'm not entirely sure if I should try to stop him.
For what?
It's
For
not.
this.
For that?
It looks
Just for the
intimidating.
costume
but
department.
the way you clean a room is you take one item at a time and you hang it up. And I go over and I pick one up, I put it on a hanger. Oh, I lift the rack and then I put it on.
I pick up one.
I
of the
pick up
torn
another
ones.
one, look you dead in the eye, put it on the thing, hang it up. I pick up another one, put it on a hanger, hang it up.
Great, keep doing that.
Pick up another torn one.
I'm gonna go clean up the kitchen.
No, see, you're not so
Okay.
bad.
So as the two of you are down there cleaning up the inventory of the costume room, you are busy and you realize that you only have one bucket worth of cleaning because the rest are being used for Grizz.
Honestly, I don't even regret that.
And so over the next few hours, you actually get that room put into a pretty stately condition, and the kitchen is not quite back up to the standards in which if an inspector came by, they'd be happy with. But it's probably good enough that when the kitchen staff starts to come in later, they're really only worried about frying different things, so they're not as upset as they're like...
Rose, we need to find somewhere to keep those children if we're going to keep those children, and it can't be here.
I would suggest an orphanage.
I'm not against this. We just have to make sure it's not an orphanage that has any of these connections to.
It's dangerous.
How many orphanages do you think there are?
These two got away.
I mean, there should be a lot of orphanages around.
There's usually like one per district.
I mean, government run.
Yeah.
You would know that non-government orphanages are going to have far less oversight.
Yeah, which
Much-
could be a
much
problem.
worse.
Which could be, depending on how
I don't
wealthy the
trust
patron
it.
is that takes care of them and how much they
I mean,
care.
take him to Lady Hart.
Yes, let's take him to Lady Heart.
Are we convinced that Lady Hart is actually someone who is on the good side of this or the bad side of this?
The good side.
Good side.
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes.
According to the notes I read in Latch's journals, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we
If
can
you
try
don't
and do
want him
that.
here, even though
No,
I think it's not safe.
Of course, I want to know if Cad knows anything about the Amonte Syndicate.
Yes, go talk to him. What?
Sure. Let's see if he's around still.
So, I didn't want to stop your conversation, but technically you guys were in completely different levels of the
Oh, that's fair.
of the
I
establishment.
think
I
we
thought
were
we
assuming
just
after
meet
we
up at
tidied
one
up
point.
and then gathered
Yeah.
back together.
Yeah, I know. I didn't get
My
to
bad.
that point yet.
Sorry.
Because I was going to narrate another long shadow
Uh-oh.
over you as you cleaned in the kitchen, right as you were kind of finishing up.
Right.
And for a moment, you assume that it's Rose.
Mm-hmm. Rose, did you finish in the downstairs?
And as you look up, you see leaned against the door. Well, I should actually say, you smell a very sweet, sweet tobacco. And leaned against the door, the shadow is now complete as you see the curves of Nalthella. Not Nutella.
People call her Nutella.
Only one person
Oh, no.
It's
who's
only
on her
worse
way
if-
here.
It's only worse when they call it out.
Oh,
It's
she
that
did
one,
it.
not that one. It's that one you want to be mad
The
at.
person on the way here said it.
Anywho, Nalthella is standing in the doorway, and that's where we're going to end the off-the-table session for this evening. Grizz will have an interesting surprise when he gets back, as so will Felix. Maybe.
Roses.
Maybe.
Oh, I want it to be roses so bad.
Okay, I'll let you write down. I'll let you write down that, and perhaps, you guys do have access to the inventory of the costuming room as well. After the bath, Grizz is. My guess is he's groggy, like semi-conscious during this, not fully, but probably a very heavy sleeper.
Braids.
I can take care of that.
Braids in the beard. Definitely his beard's going to be like braided.
Oh, can we
With
have like
ribbons.
little girls go after him while
Yes.
he's
I was actually thinking about making that happen regardless, so the fact that you guys are into it, I'm into it. So,
the fallen beads
sorry.
that fell off the dresses.
Oh my goodness.
So what we'll go to here is just a real fast kind of maybe recap of what just kind of transpired, and then we'll go to break after a real quick. Actually, no. We'll save all of the backstory stuff and everything like that. All the questions for your characters for after a little break, so we can get up. Grab some fluids, use the restroom.
Have some fluids, lose some fluids.
Lose some fluid, gain some fluid, get some Grizz jerky,
Fluid neutral.
Fluid neutral is where we're headed for. But now is another reminder for you to go ahead, start working on any of that fun fan art, or maybe type question in all caps with a question for our players to answer in character about their characters.
I love speaking in her voice.
I can attest that that is true. So what we will do now is we'll take our quick little break, and when we come back, we will dive a little deeper into the misfits that we still have here and talk about some of their favorite experiences during the game and answer some of your questions.
Are you attacked?
Maybe.
Felix will probably end up with spots at some point during this. We'll see you soon.
nest of bluebirds. Eyes a mile wide, where to last? See them go. They took off with the love left in me. They couldn't stop. I feel most at home in the heat, underneath weeping trees. Find it most soothing when you're slow with me. If all my dreams are coming true, and be having them next to you. My dreams are made to make up for the truth. Tastes like a secret, or a feeling I can never forget. And when you go, it's still stuck to my lips. If all my dreams are coming true, and be having them next to you.
it's just the chemical smell. I was like, whoa.
Yeah, it smells like rocket fuel.
Yeah,
That's all it is.
take it as a mage spell.
So, welcome back to Inkwell Society. That's why when I said, okay, we're live again.
That was the clue.
Yep. Because Andre was already finished with the item there.
Thank you.
So I just real fast, before we get into the Q&A, wanted to remind everyone about the fan art for this. It needs to go to fanart at
dndfanart@wizards.com.
dndfanart@wizards.com. I feel like we should put a graphic together for that.
Word.
But word.
A word graphic for that?
Probably
With words.
With that. So you can get a little Wormwood dice carrier and character case if your fan art is selected by the community as being dope.
You even fit pens and pencils in there.
You could. If for some reason you're watching the show and you don't own dice.
With dice.
Maybe I'll put dice in it.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll put dice in it.
Maybe.
I do have some Eldritch looking dice that I am not currently using.
Seems dicey.
It does.
Maybe we'll have our Maze Arcana set by then.
Maybe we'll have a
Kraken
Maze
dice.
Arcana set by then.
For a crack.
They might be in. The Kraken ones could be in. We might have some from
yeah.
Level Up.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I'm posting the photo of us.
Who knows what sneaky things might be in that little box when you get it.
Indeed.
Just don't tell any of the
All right.
imports,
Fill it
exports.
with Jello.
Fill it with
Gross.
Jello.
You never know.
Okay.
Powdered version.
Powdered
Get a
Jello.
little moisture in there. It's all over.
So this part of the episode will be our what?
Character Q&A.
Our character Q&A, but we're gonna call it the Interlude.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah, I thought it was a good title as well. And what we're gonna start here with is a little recap to say, basically during that little off the table session there, we were wrapping up what happened to Polly after our last game, which you all infiltrated a police precinct in order to have a conversation with those girls. In lieu of an actual real conversation, well, apparently, really, there were just more people coming to look for those girls, taking a more direct route, and you just happened to beat them there.
I had a good conversation.
You did, and actually, I was timing how long it took you guys to get there. He could have beat you to them.
Oh, if we had spent too much time hanging around in the rooms and stuff, distracting things.
Distracting things, if you had spent too much time in, say, the armory that you didn't even go into.
Spending time there.
Yeah.
Donuts went a long way.
The donuts were actually a very good. There's little things like that if you do have questions about maybe things that have happened and how they could have changed, you can ask me. But mostly this is going to be for you all.
Oh.
So some of the fans have been wondering a lot about the psychology behind your characters, their atypical archetypes, and not only the choices that they've made, but the seriousness with which the players approach and sometimes appropriate things that happen in the game that maybe wouldn't happen in a normal D&D game where players are a little bit more used to being superheroes out of the gate. A lot of D&D games, you are a mythic hero kind of before you leave the farm. And so in Inkwell, we started at level 0, and that gave you guys a lot of time to almost have an on-screen prologue, in a way. And you had the opportunity to, not only did we, in our own session zeros, flesh out kind of a little bit about your characters, but you also had, some of you, 12 episodes.
We had a season 0.
Yeah, you basically had an entire season where I think at the end of that season we only had 3 people or so that had gained their levels. So what do you find, and this is for all of you, what do you think makes Inkwell Society different and exciting from your other experiences with D&D? Kyle, you probably have the longest tenure, although not by much more than Satine. What is your what about Inkwell do you like that is different from the other things that you've played, or have you had similar experiences?
Oh, I had similar experiences in the past, but Inkwell's different than most of the common games in the fact that, one, it's city-based, and not a lot of games take place in cities. They're usually doing adventures. And the other would be the fact that we're focusing more on the characters' choices and their lives than any particular sort of go get the loot sort of stories. We're dealing more with how do they live in this world as opposed to how do they beat up things and take money in this world.
Yeah, and not that some of that doesn't happen, but I would say that this is, well, actually, Satine, what would you say? Or, actually, I really like the idea of you guys answering all these questions in character.
In character.
I love this place. I'm just kidding. I hate this place. I really like how it's not about winning or accomplishing one thing, feeling good, leveling up. It's about the journey. But more than the journey, it's how we relate to one another. There's a bit of a buy-in. But outside of that, there's how we interact, and then there's inside of my head of what does that look like in the future? What were the plans that I had made when I moved to Sharn? And then what are my plans now? Because of all the circumstances.
So, as I hear you saying this, it makes me, and as the Dungeon Master I'm allowed to make this decision, it makes me think that maybe there are some things that we do want you to answer in character and then some that we want you to answer as a player. So I will address you as Witch prior to. And so that was very nice to come from Rose in that way, to think about what you have to do. Satine, how do you feel about Inkwell versus some of the other campaigns that we've run, like Furies and whatnot?
Yeah, it's just different. This is totally different for me because it's not a typical D&D adventure. It's playing a TV show.
Playing a TV show.
Yeah, it feels more like
Episodic?
we're in a comic or we're playing episodic TV.
Oh, so wait,
We're-
serialized.
We're
Yeah.
we're just characters in a story, which is different than adventurers out to get a thing or solve a quest or whatever. Like this goes because our show is, seasons long. It's different. The way we explore is different.
Okay. Do you feel as though do you think that the way that you are relating this, I'm sorry, I'm trying to think about exactly how I would phrase this. Do you think that you're actually living in a persistent world as those characters versus the world kind of revolving around you as most D&D campaigns sort of would?
I'm that's feeding me a little bit, but I do feel that it's just different. I watch a lot of television. I watch a lot of TV, and I love buddy cop shows.
Okay.
Like, I don't know why.
This is very
like
very procedural sort of setting.
Yeah, and I like that. Like, I really like that about this.
The other thing is we don't get to abandon where we are after the adventure's over because we live there.
Yeah.
So you can't just hit it and quit it.
Yeah, exactly.
You've got to deal with the fallout afterwards of, oh yeah, you did that.
All the
Yeah,
variations
just
of
like they do.
consequences.
Yeah, like they do in the TV shows.
Yeah.
So that's what I like about it is I've been playing D&D for 30 years. This is the first time I'm like, I'm in the TV shows I watch.
Yeah. Kai, what do you think about it? You do a lot of LARPing and persistent
I was
world
gonna
through
say,
that.
A lot more of my experience. I did grow up on 2nd edition D&D, but I very quickly started playing LARPs a lot more than I played pen and paper D&D. And LARPs are, as you said, like way more persistent in their worlds. You go there for, like the weekend, maybe a few days, and that you are in character that whole time. You achieve a bunch of goals that mostly you set. It's very actionary and reactionary, where you're finding things kind of coming at you, and the problem that is coming at you, you can choose to solve it, or you can choose to be like, nah, someone else has that, walk away. Something still happens. You can potentially walk and chase that down, or you'll never find out about what happened. In Inkwell, it feels a lot less like, here is, I mean, let's be honest, most Dungeons & Dragons campaigns are focused on the idea of a more linear railroad kind of aspect. Go to Dungeon A, beat up boss B, get treasure C, return to town, go to next town, solve the problem there. Right. And it usually involves a dungeon. There is a little bit of that, but it's very removed, or a far different filter element to it. If we have the police station, I mean, that police station's all messed up. It's got holes through it now. That's going to be something that might actually...
We didn't do this one.
No, but we were present for it. It happened.
Did not burn this building down.
Yeah, and we have burned a couple of buildings down now. And because of that, we've left a mark on the world. And it's a lot more prevalent than if we just kind of, do something in the village and leave. And I kind of like that idea of, like, you've given us this district, this like neighborhood district that is our district, and now we have ownership over a bar in there. As things go on, are we going to start, like, it's almost like we've talked a little bit before about the idea of almost like, we're not superheroes, we're not heroes yet, we're slowly building into it, and we're already talking about hiding our identities. We're like a group of daredevils, and our district is Hell's Kitchen. And if the lens of the story is focused on our district, like our little town area, and we start raising it up and solving the problems of the people in that town, are we going to ever leave Sharn? Are we ever going to leave that spot? Maybe. Maybe not. And the game can take a very, very different tone once we get to that point that if we do, and when we do, leave our little district behind and go off to something bigger and greater. So,
I mean,
go ahead.
You've got like a lot of time to play in the city without having to worry about the next big place to be. There's a lot to do here.
There's a lot happening in Sharn.
I love campaigns that allow us to have one kind of area and continue to play around with it. Some of my favorite video games are a similar aspect. There were a few JRPGs out there that involve building up a castle and the surrounding area and protecting it and collecting all of these people to be, the people that live in your castle with you and become your adventuring parties and things. And those games are really, really fun for that. And the best D&D campaigns I've had and the best LARPs I've played are the ones where it really feels like that game that you keep going back to every week or every other week or whenever you run your game, or if it's a LARP, like every month or every other month, it's your town. You've made an impact on it. You've made that change, and you're leaving kind of a legacy. Likewise, some of the really interesting D&D campaigns I've seen are ones I've come to late. And it's been like the third campaign in this world that the DM's created, and every campaign that the DM runs is another generational jump.
Right.
So the legendary heroes that changed the world in the previous campaign are now, or the heroes of the previous campaign are now the ones that changed the world completely, and they might be rulers, or now they've passed away and they've just left their legacies.
Right.
And the characters are interacting with them. Like, I might be a cleric of someone who became a demigod.
Right.
I'm worshipping a religion that was founded by this character from a previous game.
Right.
And those are always so interesting.
One of the things that's very interesting about Eberron that's different from a lot of the other settings is that it's almost intended to be a lower level campaign where things have a greater consequence, where things they matter, the players matter more. There is nobody to come back and clean up after you. There's no deities that are going to come down and fix things, and there's no Elminster running around. Basically, like the king of Braylon, who is essentially Chuck Norris and even looks like Chuck Norris in the book, he is only 7th level. He is not this big, 20th level guy that can come in and fix everything. He is perishable in a way, right? He can die. And the way that we've kind of charted this out for the book, Keith and I have looked at kind of something to give players a little bit better understanding and DMs a little bit better understanding of the amount of notoriety or infamy that you as a player might have based on the levels that you've acquired. And one of the things, like being a 0, being a nobody, you're common, you're like everybody else. But as you, even at level 2, essentially you are now recognized within your neighborhood or your district. As you're starting to move through that, you still have a couple of people that are not quite up to that yet. But those of you that have started to make a name for yourselves are starting to see signage that are there. Somebody is starting to get a reputation in the underworld. Somebody is becoming a kingpin or a coroner of certain repute. And as you make your way up in level, that is also something that is indicative of how many people will know who you are, how far and wide the stories are spread. And I believe that in some of the other texts, we have this is how you can handle fame or how you can handle infamy. And in Eberron, it's almost built in because it's directly connected to your level. So I thought that was interesting and something that I wanted to make sure that in Inkwell we were touching base on, because I feel as though there is a lot of stuff in the Dungeon Master's Guide that doesn't get touched. Almost even like the injuries. The way that we're handling injuries is an offshoot of something that was in the DMG and something that was expanded upon in Xanathar's. And these are things that people typically don't see because they can be more complicated. It helps that we have people that know mechanics, that are very proficient in Dungeons and Dragons, and people that are very proficient in role-playing, that we can almost make a more advanced game in a way. Because we're not necessarily as worried about, what was this little thing and what was that? We all know what we're doing for the most part.
Yeah, I like to think of it as another way to play versus advanced or novice. I feel like that's almost like a judgment or something.
Sure, you could say that.
So I just feel like it's a new way to play, another way to play.
Right. We're just expanding on the other things that are there, ready to be used, but that typically aren't.
I would say, if I can try and throw it in, like I might be wrong here, but it's kind of our game that we are playing. Inkwell is a different genre. Mm-hmm. It's still D&D. It's still role-playing, but a lot of people are used to the more standardized format of adventuring, and that's absolutely cool. And that is super, super fun, and I love that. But it fits into its own sort of genre.
Right.
And now with D&D and roleplay games just exploding outwards, and we're getting this wonderful golden age of board games and imagination, and people are embracing their creativity again, which I could talk for hours about, and I do on my podcast. But with that, it's people realizing, I can do a murder mystery. I can do this. I can do that. It's very much just letting people know and enabling them that they don't have to be restricted by just, heroes go and check out dungeons.
Right. High fantasy, high magic. It doesn't have to be that in every campaign. Yeah. You are free to explore things and try new options.
There's been alternatives to those, but yeah, that tends to be the big one.
Waterdeep, Dragon Heist, and Wayfinder's Guide coming out in the same year is pretty great.
Yeah, and Ravnica.
And Ravnica, it's right, because that's another city campaign, right?
I want to play in that one so bad.
It's so cool. And
there's also a lot of other materials you can go back in the old editions and use to mine for your different kinds of stories too. You've got the Dark Sun post-apocalyptic setting. You've got the whole Lankhmar, which is kind of like Eberron, that low magic, grungy in the city kind of setting. You've got Planescape, which is running through space. So yeah, go play the kind of story you want to play.
Right.
I've even heard of ones where, I can't remember the name of it, where it was a town that was completely owned by necromancers.
Yeah.
Which was a really cool
a couple
setting.
Of those. Yeah, they're really nice. And I meant Spelljammer, not Planescape. Planescape's running through other dimensions.
Yeah. So in the first 12 episodes, you guys had kind of the opportunity to see a mystery sort of take the beginning and the center stage at first, where a lot of clues were being left, and we were trying to make sure that the breadcrumbs were readily available, I suppose. But we got a couple of glimpses into your character's backstory. What we didn't get was the same kind of focus that we have now in the last, few episodes. Each of you has had some very large reveals about your backstories, and even Grizz too, who's not here right now. But what do you feel was what do you think so far? Maybe a quick recap of what was put out about your character so far, and how you feel that has affected your journey with this new group of people who you didn't know previously.
Oh, you mean, so, for example, Felix revealing certain vices and weaknesses as well as strengths or goals that he has, versus him kind of revealing them to the other characters,
So
and
your
how
ambitions-
that might be changing his perspective of things?
Sure, your ambitions, but also, what was that?
I'm a sorcerer.
Right. Your ambitions, yes, but more so like what happened to you before. Because we all worked on our individual backstory things. Some of that is coming out to the rest of the group and to the to the viewers as we're going. What do you think so far has been the biggest reveal that we've gone through for? We can either say all of you can answer just the one, or each of you can say your. What's up?
No, I'd be happy to provide one of the things that I feel has been revealed with Felix.
Okay, what do you think Felix's biggest reveal was?
I think it's one of two things. I really like kind of revealing the hints of Felix's, not really, I'm struggling with the right word right now. Not necessarily his motivations, but his desire for power, like his goals and how he wants to kind of take those steps forward. It's pretty obvious to the viewers what type of profession he is, regardless of him lying to the party about it. And I feel that I always think warlocks really need to think from an out-of-character perspective. Like, why did my character choose to take power from an entity, make a pact with something else, and make deals that they can't, write checks that they can't necessarily cash themselves, with some kind of entity that they can't necessarily trust? That's a really big risk. And to me, that represents kind of a degree of hunger or desperation that, not everyone is necessarily capable or willing or in the right mind or wrong mind to do.
Sure.
Rather than someone kind of, focusing on martial strength or natural talent when it comes to bards and sorcerers, or, actual hard study like a wizard. I like that warlocks exist.
So for Felix, I think what the question is supposed to be a little bit more geared to is you had, for Felix, you had a couple of events that almost put you into an area where you didn't have a direction. Your direction was simply to bide your time and kind of figure out what the next stage was. And you'd almost gone down the sinkhole. He
was definitely spinning along that kind of porcelain direction. And when the story started, he was kind of awash. Like every time he was getting money from gambling, and every time he'd get a bunch, instead of using it to lift himself out of the gutter, he was just reminding himself of what he used to do.
Right. And then so you were able to find
his previous life.
Right. And you were able to find some direction when DeVry and Felix came through. Go ahead.
Sorry. The other one is seeing how he originally made contact with DeVry.
Right.
And the again, it hints at like his willingness to do certain things, and it shows that Felix has a nice side, but he isn't a nice person. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that was important when we sat down, was to find out exactly what kind of things or what kind of people you were beforehand and what kind of things you did that set you on the path that you were on.
The things that someone will do to achieve their goals, I think, is a really important decision that you ask the internals of your character. And with LARP especially, and more immersive roleplay as D&D is doing at certain times. It depends on your group and everything, but the more you buy in, the more you'll find times where your character completely surprises you. And you have those moments where it's like, oh, it's not Kai driving. Kai's taking a back seat and he's watching this happening. And he's just like, well, Felix is in the driver's seat. This is really entertaining, but I didn't see any of this coming.
Yeah, I feel the same way.
And that is the best times. Those are the moments that I love as a DM or running my LARPs. Like, I love seeing that level of buy-in where, you know, Tony isn't Tony anymore. He's Chud the Barbarian.
Right.
You know, just for a split second. And they're making those decisions. And so I love riding that wave as a player as well, getting to fully immerse for a few moments.
I think that's what we're all kind of like here hoping to do when we get to game. So for Rose, what was kind of that moment that you think might have been a reveal so far as an idea into your backstory? You also had the luxury of a couple of games outside of this where you weren't playing Rose to explore. Well, okay,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Well, I really feel like there wasn't a lot for a really long time. Like, she was kind of a filler character for a while. And now I feel like if there was any reveal, I mean, we kind of danced around her being like a fallen noble type character. But more than actual backstory, I feel like we revealed her yearning to get back there. You know?
Oh, back to the level that she was originally at?
Yeah. Like,
not back to necessarily home.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you know, just trying to do the things that she did then. Like the toast and the roses and just all these little nuances. Like she needs it in her life. And now, like, what happens when she gets to a point where, like, she has a little more money? Like, what is that going to do to her? Or, like, now she has access to somebody in the next level. What is that going to do to her?
Yeah.
And, you know, whereas before she kind of like, this is my life. Now it's like, I could get out of here.
Right.
What am I going to do?
And
Like, she could go, like, how far will she push herself?
Yeah.
And I think that's the reveal that I'm excited about. Not
And
really
you've
like,
been pretty good about kind of being very vocal about wanting to get out of there and wanting to elevate yourself. But now we are starting to see that you have a few little threads to pull on. And how exciting is it to maybe be in a position to make a little bit more money?
You got a raise. Yee.
It's been really nice to watch you drop some of those hints in almost like with the roses and with the toast and stuff like that people might just be like, what, that's an odd character quirk, but there's a purpose. And I really like that because I'm very, I love slow playing clues. And so I appreciate that you've been doing that.
like, maybe she'll actually make it to a fancy restaurant and then she'll be right at home.
Maybe.
The burn. The slow burn.
Slow burn. So, Lawson, we actually had a little drop in on your backstory that came to light when you achieved your second level.
There was actually a little bit of a hint of that before that.
There was with some Dream Lily, I think.
Even before that.
Oh, why don't you tell us about that?
Because there's that little interaction with Teeny in her office when we got to reveal what sort of decoration Lawson wanted. He mentioned he wanted to go back to Arenal, and so she made it look like it was Arenal again, so that he could, because he knew he was exiled, and he doesn't get to go back. So, and then that's when you found out he was exiled, and now you're starting to find out some reasons maybe that he did something bad to get exiled, and it wasn't just being framed for something. And how is he going to fix that if he's going to fix that? But also, I like to reveal the fact that he's an elf, and elves don't think the same as people. So
Yeah.
attitudes on things don't quite fit the same.
That was a fun play.
Oh, the Tinadars?
Well, yeah, when we were going back and forth there.
Yeah.
That was really fun.
And it's really interesting to see how the two of you have cultivated that idea that Rose is actually a little bit more well-adjusted to being in the Five Nations because of being raised in Ondare versus someone who was raised actually on the other island of Arenal, which is its own kind of continent. where it's all elves and it's all about just that mindset and the way of life, but you actually have a lot more in tune with the rest of Corvair and what it's like to interact in court with all of these other races, whereas Lossian has only been here for a short amount of time and is still trying to...
Less than a year.
Is still trying to understand the how different species interact and where they come from and that kind of background. And you can kind of see that in how Lossian treats everybody close to the same, I think.
And Lossian's kind of an outsider in general because of his attitude. He doesn't quite understand people and how they interact, so that's also another hurdle he has to work through.
There's a couple of questions in here that would... How do you think? Some of these questions are a little bit more vague about just in general the different ways that you could do a few. These are actually a lot of very general D&D questions. If you have any questions that are very directly about the characters, one of them that we have here is a question where someone wants to know, and Nick, and if you could please include the person's name in the question so that I can make sure that they're referenced appropriately. But Kai, did you make the coat and gloves, or how did you acquire the ones that you've been using so far for Felix's attire? Not just your dress down, but your previous noble.
So the purple trench coat that I wear sometimes as Felix, that's him on his good days. That's his noble, or the leftovers of his noble wear. That's a leather trench coat that a friend of mine made for me. I can sew. I can't sew very well. In fact, I prefer the House Greyjoy approach to cosplay. We do not sew. I do a lot of prop building and masks and things like that, but I don't really sew things. So these gloves are, this is actually the second version of them, as there was a slightly different version that I was wearing in the first season. But no, these gloves are store-bought. I like them a lot. They're super nice and comfy. And because I do a lot of LARPs, both the post-apocalyptic one that I run in Northern California and also the Southern California fantasy ones that I play out here, which is, as I said, more of a fantasy one. I have a lot of costume. It just kind of happens. If you think it's bad when you're a cosplayer building up a whole bunch of costumes, at least then you have the excuse of, well, I don't really watch that show anymore, or I'm not going to wear it anymore, so I'm just going to sell it off. LARPers are worse. We have so much costume that we're like, that'll be useful 5 years from now.
Yeah.
No, we just can't throw it away.
It's going to happen that one time for the one thing.
Yeah, but if you toss it, then you will need it.
Yep.
However, for example, at the Stream of Many Eyes, there were 5 or 6 people that I fully outfitted with clothing.
That's true.
Because I'm like, oh yeah, sure, totally. Here, have some costume pieces. So yeah, I've got... My roommate hates it. I've got so many big totes of costumes just around the house. He is a very, very patient person.
Thank you,
yeah. But no, so I those pieces I haven't made. There are things that I have made. I wish I could sew this type of stuff. I do a little bit of leather armor work, like rivets and things like that. But when it comes to gloves and more... shall we say, more clothing over armor. Clothing and tailored stuff requires a degree of expertise that is beyond me in that. The people who know how to sew would know it takes a lot of practice and a lot of skill to make incredible clothing.
And
And
now,
you and Grizz made, you and Sig made Lossian's leather...
That was just me.
It's just you.
I think Sig did Sig make some stuff for you?
he dirtied it up.
No, it was
No.
no.
He antiqued it.
So Lossian has a pretty cool
Work apron.
apron
for-
that you never wear.
No.
It's hot.
And some of us only have so much time before we get here for
Yeah,
shows.
but he
Fine.
would wear it for the stream of many eyes.
That's true.
And,
And
For
he looked
premium
good there.
events,
you can see it in the intro
You'll see
and
a
stuff.
full outfit of Lost
Little oil stains and blood splats on it and stuff like that. That was super fun to make. So thank you for letting me make
for
that. But those are the types of things I enjoy making, and especially with D&D being with everyone like you to watch. Costume, I think, is like so much more important.
Yeah. It helps us to get into the character. Speaking of which, is there any type of music from the real world that you feel would be get your character would kind of maybe encapsulate your character? Is there any specific music that you like that you think embodies your
Lana Del
character?
Rey.
Lana Del Rey for Rose? Any particular song?
Just
All of it.
throw them all together.
I don't use any music for Lossian or coming up with the character or embodying it, but I would say probably choral funeral dirge.
Okay. Understood.
Electronic music?
No,
What is that?
it's like all throat chorals, like multiple people singing, like the old Latin
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
yes.
choirs.
Like mourning paid mourners and stuff.
Yeah, or
There's this band that's like something Cthulhu Project or something. I've got to show it to you. I feel like it's a lot of creepy atmospheric that has a faint bit of that type of music in the background.
Lossian's music's not creepy. It's also
Really?
it's like literally
It would be
celebrating the
spiritual.
death and spiritualized, and he's got a very religious background.
I would have to think about that. I will say that for a lot of my LARP characters, I do make playlists. So when I'm like going off to an event, I'll listen to the playlist while I'm driving over there. I have a couple of songs. I'll have to look them up. I have a couple of songs put aside for Felix that help me kind of slip into him a little easier. So that's a really cool tool that some people use. And I've seen some people use inspiration boards where they have like 6 pictures in kind of like a mosaic. That help remind them like the core aspects of their character, and it's very visceral images.
Yeah.
That like help kind of define what's important to them, and they're very emotionally charged images for things.
Maybe we'll have you guys do a Spotify playlist for your characters or something like that. What do you got, Rose?
Yeah, so when I was trying to come up with her accent in like the songs, it was Concrete Blonde, PJ Harvey. It was the 90s, all the 90s girls.
3 non-blondes.
4 non-blondes.
Sorry, 4 non-blondes.
What was her name? The Criminal song. Fiona Apple.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
I was
like
gonna say Smooth Criminal.
Yeah, that's
That's definitely not.
yeah, so like
Definitely
all
the
those
animal
like
from-
throaty, saucy, dark 90s.
yeah.
The heavy, breathy singers.
Slightly grungy in a way.
I didn't
which-
think
No garbage?
they were not.
No?
Yeah, garbage too. Yeah,
Zombie.
but that was a little too like that was a little more poppy
Yeah, a
than I
little
was going
poppy.
for. This
Okay.
is like
More alternative indie.
yeah.
Okay. So would you say that your... I guess actually so that we can give everybody at home, maybe somebody that's just tuning in or something like that, a little bit of context. Kyle plays Lossian, who is an Aranel elf. We're playing in Eberron, specifically in the city of Sharn. So we have Lossian, who is an Aranel elf from a different continent, who is 1 level of wizard and 1 level of grave domain cleric.
Shh, don't tell anybody.
We have Rose, who has her 2nd level of bard and is a Ondarian elf. So one that is actually from the 5 kingdoms in Corvair. And we have Felix, who is a human from House Cannith, whose dragon mark has been seen.
I don't think anyone's actually properly seen it, but I feel it's definitely been referenced that it is not of his house.
One somebody has seen it.
Oh, you saw it? When did you see it?
When I was treating you.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah. I know one of us did.
Uh-huh.
And then you are right now sitting with a level of warlock.
Yep.
Not yet making your 2nd.
Uh-huh. Can I, so I am just about to hit send on a tweet that has a link to a playlist, an empty playlist for people if they want to throw songs in that they think might fit Felix.
Sure.
So my Twitter is Yokai Props, and I am hitting tweet right now.
Why don't you tag
Inkwell. I will. I did.
Anyway.
So, that's something that you can get around to once you get an opportunity there. Who else is in here that we're going to look at? Somebody said Charn food trucks. I don't, like, that's kind of not really a question. How about this? What do you think your character smells like?
Oh, I know what my character smells like.
Go ahead.
My character smells like a combination of rotting corpses, antiseptic, and
Formaldehyde?
no, because he's not an embalmer.
Not really,
He's
no.
coroner.
Yeah.
And various little bits and pieces of herbs and things, since he plays with the herbs so much.
So if you were not to be, let's say you had a week off of work and you started to kind of smell more like,
Normal.
yeah.
It would be very sort of weird, wizardy, like the sulfur effects and various.
So like sulfur and sage and stuff.
Yeah, rose petals, all
Okay.
kinds of weird, creepy.
Roses are not creepy. I smell like roses.
Is that what you smell like?
Absolutely.
That's it?
Yep.
Okay. We've got Rose smelling like roses. Who knew?
Am I allowed to mention this?
You are a snake oil salesman?
No, not specifically a snake oil salesman. Am I allowed to mention the brand?
I mean, I guess,
Because,
but
well, no, wait, I can because they have actually been licensed by Dungeons and Dragons. They can
Okay.
Yeah,
commission.
that's true.
So Black Phoenix Alchemy Lab has a few adventure lines of like rogue and fighter and things like that. But one of their scents that I love is called snake oil. And I wear that every time I play Felix because just like playlists or image boards and things, this scent helps me kind of get into the idea of the character.
Yeah.
Also, dusty books.
Dusty books. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, like when we sit down, like right before we get to play, I'm like, Felix.
That's why Rose always sits next to Felix.
Yup.
And always avoids Lossie.
He smells nice. You smell like a creepy.
Did you have
Smell like a
a
creepy-
core concept when you came up with the character?
Oh, yeah. So Rose she's my favorite character in all the world is Lucille Ball.
She's good.
And also, I really love the idea of Jessica Rabbit.
Jessica Rabbit.
It's like a lounge singer style in this like dark place, a beautiful flower and a bunch of dirty things. And then I was like, On Dare, what does On Dare sound like? The heck does On Dare sound like? And so we were describing On Dare, and I'm like, it reminds me when I went to Italy. Boom! They have an Italian accent. And because it's a fairy tale world, I don't have to be perfect at any accent.
Kai.
Felix, when we started originally talking about this game altogether, and we do hint back and forth about it. One of our core concepts as a group was kind of almost like an Ocean's 11 team. We were gonna maybe be doing heists, and we've done one or two, and I'm really looking forward to maybe doing some more on those. But out of all of the concepts, like everyone had a little bit of who they liked in Ocean's 11 or other types of movies like that, and also their favorite characters from like noir movies. So I've always enjoyed the fast talking kind of charismatic charlatan style, and so I kind of tried to collide the face, the one that gets to socially distract people, with potentially the one who is in disguise and the master of disguise. Because Felix is very much like I wanted Felix to solve problems by kind of, being someone else, bumping into them, taking their pockets off of them, and just distracting people and making a ruckus. And, someone like Lotion or Rose will just kind of sweep past, and I have their keys, and I have the keys behind my back as I'm gesturing. I'm like, look over there. And Rose walks past me and takes the keys from behind my back and walks off.
That's a team.
So one question that I got beforehand was about kind of like your inspirations about how you came up with the characters and what we worked on for that. But Some of it was specifically into the type of research that you did after we got the core principles. And for anybody that's new, Inkwell is very much a noir game with a very intricate mystery that the players know they have to keep track of the clues and have conversations about them to kind of piece them together. But when we started it, it was very much that we wanted you guys to have, everyone wanted to have a different aspect, so we didn't just have 6 chain-smoking alcoholic detectives or, you know, dudes that were down on their luck or something like that. We wanted to have where each of you kind of embodied a different or an atypical trope kind of each aspect of that, so that nobody was necessarily the main character, but everybody had a part to play in helping to solve this. So almost in a Clue fashion, if you will. What did you take away from our initial troping, I guess, or the initial character creation portion, and what did you go back and research on your own afterwards? What kind of stuff did you figure out? Felix just kind of gave us an introduction there about the Ocean's 11, like being that smooth, fast talker inspiration. But Rose is a little bit more atypical.
Spoiler that?
Well, we don't have to go. I don't know what that means by spoiling that. We're essentially just talking about what type of research did you do into noir themes for Rose versus spoiling any backstory or any future content. How about this? Like tics about the character that are different than.
I don't know, dude. I feel like she's so basic she's basic to me.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like it was a very simple storyline for her. This happened, and then this happened, and then this crazy thing happened, therefore now she's here in this place.
She definitely fits the noir archetype of the lady who's fallen out, who's down on her luck, who's in the gutter, who's trying to survive and scrounge her way around, which is all in a lot of the noir things of she did something wrong at one point and now she's on the outs and she's just trying to stay alive and make her way through the dark.
Yeah.
It's very noir.
I'd even so far as say, so both Rose and Felix have the kind of like noble house fallen from grace kind of aspect. Felix has kind of accepted where he is. He doesn't like it, and he takes every opportunity he can to remind himself of where he came from. But I think Rose still has that kind of degree of maybe purity, or maybe I don't want to say like
She's snobby.
She is.
She's arrogant.
She hasn't accepted where she is.
No.
Felix is like, I'm here, may as well make the best of it, and I'm gonna keep doing what I do to get.
Felix is a fallen noble. Rose is a temporarily displaced noble.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a good way.
Yeah.
I like that. I actually like. It's funny because like I'm so looking forward to actually start revealing. I feel like with having 6 players made it really hard to go into any like personal character stuff, and it's been really, really cool to just have like larger moments with each other.
Right.
Being able to like dig and find out information about each other and actually spend time with each other.
Not worrying about running over the conversations
Or
on
that the
things.
plot's getting bogged down and not
Yeah,
progressing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for Lausian, there was a lot of research that you had kind of done incrementally over time that helped you portray sort of the specific tics or the way that Lausian communicates with everyone else. That is, I mean, I wouldn't say that all elves in Aranel necessarily act like Lausian does.
No.
I would say that Lausian is still probably an outlier there. But what kind of research did you do?
Lausian's original concept was he was the sort of lab tech medic, sort of funneled the information to the team so that they can pull the heist sort of situations from the Ocean's 11 sort of setting. But he was the guy who gave them the things to know what to figure out, not here are the answers. It's, oh, here's the things, you guys figure out the answers sort of situation. But on top of that, Lausian, the original concept was so many people play the elves that are the, oh, look, I'm pretty, oh, I'm magic, oh, I'm wonderful, and everyone wants to hang around me. And I wanted to go. Lossian was the elf that everyone's like, why is that elf here? Why is he so creepy? And in the process of that, I realized one of the good ways to help with that is to make him not quite fit. And that's a hurdle that he has to deal with, which is he's autistic. He's a high-functioning autistic. He's on the autism spectrum, but he doesn't quite get people and just kind of blurts things out and focuses on certain things. And that took a little research to find out what the range on the spectrum was, and I found out that not everybody has the same things. There are different tics and different choices, which is why he doesn't like to get touched. He's touch averse. It's more of a surprise touch, which freaked out the players who didn't know this the first time we were playing, and they all tried to touch him for some other reason.
That was fun though. That was a really fun character interaction.
Yeah.
But we actually learned, like, you didn't tell us about that ahead of time. We learned that about you in the game, and that's the fun part for
Show,
me.
don't tell.
Yeah. And there's still lots of bits and pieces in Lossian's past that will pop out that way. But I felt that a good representation of that range of the gamers that exist out there, that role-playing helps people learn how to interact with other people. And maybe Lossian will figure out how to interact with people over time.
So what do you think is your favorite thing, maybe from a character's perspective, about Eberron, about like where you're at in charm? What do you think it is that makes what do you think it is about your character that helps you identify with Eberron, or maybe the thing that you latched onto as a player for Eberron when kind of encapsulating your character? Is there anything specific that kind of stands out to you about Eberron? For instance, Rose may have had, and Felix, because you both came from wealthy families, in Eberron, coinage is about 1/10 of what it is in the Forgotten Realms, for instance. So if you had, if you centered it around your wealth, how do you think that the way that you're earning essentially coppers now, how do you think that that affects you as opposed to like in Faerun where almost everything centers around gold? Like there's only one real, I mean, there are the other things, but for the most part in modules, in books and stuff like that, we're essentially doling out gold consistently.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's harder down here because poor is poor, right?
Right.
So a copper here and a copper in the Forgotten Realms is still a copper.
But
So-
the economy of scale in Eberron is things are cheaper because
Yeah.
they're 1/10 the cost in Faerun. So it's,
And things are more expensive because they're 1/10 the cost.
well, I mean,
Or they're 10 times the cost.
it would be if they had the original book price, but if something is 10 gold and you're only making silvers, then that's really expensive. But
Right.
it's not. You're only making silvers, but it's only 10 silver. So the economy of scale, it doesn't really make it any more costly.
Well, the
It's
situation...
just more of a flavor effect.
Yeah, it
To a
makes it
degree.
sound more.
It doesn't make it, sound so high fantasy,
5 copper.
gold everywhere. It does make it
Yeah.
sound a little bit more interesting to be able to get small coins.
Yeah, well, I mean, like in Faerun, when you look at a bar or a tavern, you're still looking at copper pieces for drinks. Whereas in...
Don't tell my players that.
Yeah, right.
She charges way too much.
And I think a lot of people kind of default to that because it makes the math easier and whatnot. But as we are moving through here, magic items tend to be, oh, I could buy a round of drinks, or I could get a magic item if you're in Faerun, or I could scribe a spell into my spell book. But if you convert that opposite wise, like Lossian's struggling to be able to get a hold of enough money to afford the inks. Whereas in Faerun, we almost don't blink twice at like, oh, I just need another spell, I'll just go get some inks.
I can see what you're saying there, but it only costs 50 silver to inscribe it here in Eberron versus 50 gold. But
I
in
guess we haven't
Eberron, we
really-
would only be making silver, but in
We haven't
Faerun, we'd
really
be
done a
making
lot
gold.
with money,
Coppers.
actually.
You're making coppers most of the time.
Yeah, like we haven't really done a lot with money,
Yeah.
except for rent. Yeah, so that's the only thing we've really experienced when it comes to the economy.
We
And
squabbled. We
yeah.
squabbled. Well, Grizz and I squabbled over money.
yeah,
Some
and
people
then,
still owe people money.
Yeah.
like some of us make like nothing, and some of us
make a lot, but that could be carried over.
Who makes a lot? I don't make a lot.
You make more than.
I make more, but it's still not a lot.
Well, I'm saying but it's all in perspective.
Yeah.
So, that's really fun. Whereas I can imagine that his house and my house, like, we're really wealthy, and now I'm like, well, I make at least money out of anyone here, and I require a lot more to keep my sanity.
I think you're making roughly 5 copper a day.
Yeah.
That was a week.
No, it's usually per performance kind of thing for you.
And
5
tips?
copper.
What about what is this tip?
So the tips are things that I think you'll remember that or maybe you won't remember, but we did have one where you got to roll to see how well you got tips on any given night.
Your performance, and you got a bonus that night.
Yeah, and I think you maybe made 7 copper that one. But essentially, and Lossian basically makes a silver a day, but his is flat. He doesn't have the opportunity. And then Grizz gets 2.5 silver every 2 weeks from his military pension, which really isn't enough for him to subsist off of. So you guys have had to
Get creative,
make loans, and really, I think the thing here is,
Falsified deeds?
falsified deeds.
I'm sorry, that's called stealing property.
Yes.
But I believe that while we're saying, oh well, it's the same, in the same sense, there's definitely been opportunities here where you guys have had to be more creative, and/or it's given you the opportunity to be less morally sound, because it's not just a 1-for-1 ratio of change going across the thing. There is moments where you need to be able to come up with a certain amount of silver when you're only making coppers.
Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah. As opposed to like paying rent, right? So what do you think then maybe is your favorite thing about a different character?
Besides Mr. Punchy.
Besides Mr. Punchy, who is clearly the favorite.
Yeah.
Damn.
But pick any character so far, and what do you think you've got as your favorite there?
Give me a minute to think on that one.
My favorite thing about Laosian is Satine's favorite thing about Rose and Laosian is Rose's excitement to learn about Laosian when she was severely judgmental about him and just really rude. And now it's like, oh, like once they started talking in Elvish to one another, like all of a sudden, even though he was an elf that was totally out of this world to her, is now almost like means so much more to her because of that. So like Rose finding out about Laosian is one of my favorite things about Laosian.
No.
Yeah.
I enjoy. I really enjoy the dynamic with Grizz. He's a bully. He's picking on Felix, and one of these days it's going to become a beautiful moment where I get to use Charm Person on him, and I'm so looking forward to it. But overall, I think one of the moments I love the most is whenever like Kyle, you're just so good at just improvising your rambles with Lossian, and it's so much fun. Like just watching you go, and it's like I know I can stop this at any time, and I generally know that that's what we're supposed to be doing. But at the same time, it's really fun watching you go, and it's like that kind of moment of like, okay, keep going. Let's see if you can keep going, and then you never stop, and we're like, okay, fine, you've proved it. It's like those. It's like those games where you try not to blink with your opponent, and we're just like watching, and we're like, damn, he beat us.
Here's the thing, though, is like Rose has started listening to him, and so when he goes, she's like, yeah, oh, okay, oh no, oh, okay. Like she's actually like with him through this whole thing, where everyone's like, oh god, he's rambling, and she's
not,
like,
all of
totally
it's pertinent.
up. Yeah.
All of it is pertinent and useful, which is why, like the last time Lossian done it at this very session, I was just like, I'm gonna pour myself a drink and come back and just sip it and watch.
I try to drop a few things that I've come up with in Lossian's mind over those little things. He gets into this is an important kind of thing, which is what happens when you focus sometimes as someone with autism, it's like, this is the thing I know, this is the thing I like, this is the thing I want to talk about, and it just kind of just takes over. And with him, it just kind of runs away because people are actually talking about something that he likes.
Your mind is like a computer as well. You've picked up the majority of the clues on this murder mystery, and like, I'm a goblin when it comes to this. I just want to pick up the clues and smack them on the table a few times and see what falls out.
I like the scoundrel aspect that Felix pulls off. Laucian's not so much, but I like the fact that Felix does some things in order to get ahead in the world. I do like Grizz's heart. That he's got this kind heart hidden under that gruff, and I will poke it out eventually.
Oh, little fuzz knuckles.
Yeah, whether it's with its beef jerky or not, we'll find out.
Did you watch that last?
I missed that part.
Oh my
yeah, you
god!
haven't watched the entire thing. I know I just gave you the little like snippet of where your Felix was,
I
but
watched the last hour.
yeah.
Yeah, it's like the
I only had
first
the time for
hour.
Yeah.
We were, oh man, it was so good. We're like speaking in another language while he's right there.
One of the things that I chose was Laucian, when he speaks common, has an odd accent because he's from Aranel, so I do that weird sort of sing-songy voice delivery because he sings his Elvish more than speaks his Elvish.
Yeah.
And so when we switch to Elvish, I drop that accent so it's
We're
more
both in English.
straight English American accent, so that shows that Elvish
Like
is being
Kyle
spoken.
voice?
Yeah.
And you did the same?
Yeah,
And
just
she does
like
the same
I'm
for her Elvish.
Wow.
And I
Yeah,
have,
so when you hear them do that, they're actually talking to each other in Elvish.
Oh,
You heard it here first, folks. Wow, words are hard. Elves are just American English.
yeah, they just been around so long. And so
The LA accent.
and then my other languages, I've got
revolution.
different dialects for those as well. But yeah, that was more. We did that so that Grizz was there and realized we were talking Elvish.
But it was also cool because finding out the way you think about everyone else. Because you just assumed that I also felt that way about everyone else.
Oh, and the Elven perspective, how to deal with
Yeah.
short-lived associates.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. So some of my favorite parts of your characters so far, and because we have had a lot of interactions where I'm playing an NPC and we're seeing a lot of your characters through that, especially when you guys split up for long periods of time, which as a dungeon master is both interesting and also very taxing.
Yep.
And sometimes we finish a session, I'm just like, God, I just want you guys to get back together. But one of the things that I really have enjoyed so far is the corner manager
The unnamed manager.
with Laucian, where they both go on those tangents, and he is an elf, but he's not from Aranel. He's just a Corvair elf.
He's just Rick Moranis.
They're essentially just, and they both go on those long rants together and are listening. Like Kyle and I are listening to each other so succinctly that we are actually shifting our conversation at that speed, which has been really interesting to see. And then with Robert, the way that you treat Robert different than the way that you treat, say, Dante or basically any other person in authority, because neither of them really have authority places for you. So it's interesting to watch Rose treat them differently than she treats authority figures, which she essentially has just a flat out like, I'm not listening to you.
Well, it's not that she's not listening. She knows who she is. And so, of course, they should respect her, but she's in this place and she knows she doesn't seem like it. But it's almost like, if I could just tell my dad,
Right.
if you knew who I was,
Sure.
like, don't you dare talk to me like that. And of course, he's like, you're just a street rat. And she wants to say all the things. So she's used to being talked to in a certain way
Right.
and respected.
I do like the teen's choice to struggle in the gutter while dealing with the fact that she doesn't want to be in the gutter. But when Laucian's attitude towards Rose is, well, she's the elder. She's the one.
He put it in the top 5. I don't know if you saw that. And I was like,
And I mean, like, it actually caught me off guard. I was like trying to process it.
No,
Like,
no, you didn't. You were not holding that in at all. You literally went, what?
I think that was like at the very end of the session too, is you said that, and I was like,
Yeah.
ooh, we're gonna break
Yeah,
there.
your head went straight down. But no, it was because in Aranel, the elders are the ones who are there for age. I mean, they've been around for tens of thousands of years and stuff. So they're even longer lived than actual elves because of the magic they do. And that institutes this very weird hierarchy of elders over the youth. And so since she's obviously an older elf than me, because I'm brand new, I defer to her, but at the same time, she's a backwoods elf with like little to no culture as far as I know. And she's griping about living this. I'm like, look, give it 100 years and you'll be fine.
that's true.
That's what Mom and Dad said.
Yeah.
But she's so
This is
immature.
just a phase.
Like, she's super immature because she's actually young. Like, she's
Young
young
age.
here because of her surroundings and like the way the culture treats each other.
Right.
So
And a
because-
debutante.
Yeah.
A debutante who like essentially can't even say that she is. So I also really enjoyed watching not only your interaction now that you're starting to almost own the mantle of the Kingpin thing, which originally it felt like when I first said it to you, you were just like, but it seems that you're kind of wearing it a little more, but I really like some of the interactions that you've had with DeVry, who seems to, like, you're not really entirely sure of his motives. He's not really entirely sure of yours, but there seems to be some amount of a symbiotic relationship that the two of you are starting to cultivate, where it goes beyond like a, well, you owe me this, or like there's actually that conversation, and he makes requests of you that are not necessarily demands, like I'll give you power for this, or if you don't do this, I'll take your power. But he seems to be giving you moments there.
Mhm.
What do you feel about kind of that interaction back and forth with him?
Well, presently, DeVry and Felix are definitely like they're amicable. I really enjoyed, and Felix definitely like caught and latched onto it. Initially, you're gonna notice a little bit of a change from now on, maybe, with the way that Felix interacts with DeVry, because a lot of the time he was asking favors and being a little more deferential.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how much, I guess I'm going to find out too, how much Felix is going to interact with him, like how that might change now that Felix knows that DeVry is kind of like Felix as well. Like, he's a little disenfranchised, he's a little displaced, and he's got people who he owes favors to. And so, just like Felix wants to get out of from under the thumb of certain things, so does DeVry. And that puts them on an even playing field,
Mm-hmm.
rather than necessarily being a case where before Felix saw him as like some kind of mystical mentor that was, the source of his power, and therefore he's like, he's going to ask favors of me soon, and I'm going to have to pay them if I want to keep what this lifestyle might be coming. Now he's like, oh, you just told me that you don't call the shots. I'm putting that away in my filing cabinet, kind of thing.
Well, I thought it was because you're now a small business owner, and now that you're in charge, you expect people to do what you tell them.
That's
And
really interesting.
People might, people in, the other characters who don't necessarily understand or know about DeVry might start to see that instead. As his nobility starts kind of popping out more, as he gets more responsibility coming towards him, he's like, yes, this is how it should be, kind of. But, we'll see.
It's interesting the amount of, just real fast about DeVry, and then we can pop back into that, but you don't fully know yet, like Felix wouldn't have a whole lot of information yet about the structure of not only elementals, but specifically of how the gen work.
Yes.
And that could be very interesting. I actually am very intrigued to see Felix start to talk to him in the way that you've just mentioned, and see how that does manifest, because it's kind of one of those things where everyone has a boss,
Oh, yeah.
and to see how Felix tries to, like you said, you file that away. I'm excited to see that. What were you gonna say?
I really like how you've taken your character from the very beginning and how he's changed and just opened up and revealed, and just I love your character's path and like all the choices that you've made so far.
Yeah.
Like it really has been like I kind of see you as our leader, and watching
Grizz
you.
doesn't.
Well, that's the thing though. Does he? Does he not? You know, like right now it seems like he doesn't, but in a way, like we're forming our group, right? And so watching you at first, like for what, 2 or 3 episodes, you were just like super quiet, and then you made a decision, and you just kind of stood up and were like, "This is how it's gonna be," and we all were like, "What? All right, that's cool."
I was trying to push into it.
Yeah.
Grizz is also a bit of a feral animal, so if you are starting to display leadership qualities, of course the thing he's going to do is poke you to see if you are actually going to
Are
be
you the
dominant.
alpha?
This is we'll see how Sig responds to this, but there's a reason why Felix is like, oh well, you know, now I own the place. We need a bouncer, and I need Grizz to start following orders.
Yeah, we'll see.
Like,
Let's all
offer
leverage.
him a job. Is he going to accept it? Does he want to accept, like orders from Felix or not?
Yeah, who knows? The other thing that I've really enjoyed watching, as far as an evolution of a character, and we only have a few more minutes, so we're gonna wrap this up real soon. But for Rose, especially with the kids and that maternal instinct that seems to have started to kick in, but only for a very select couple of people.
It's not maternal instinct.
Okay.
She was the source of a child's death. She's making up for that.
Okay.
But she has zero maternal instincts.
Yeah, and that's for lack of a better term. Is
This is
Making
assuaging.
nests, building
what
costumes,
I'm
and
saying.
making
She's-
cookies.
This is assuaging her guilt. This is in no way taking on responsibility.
yeah, maybe.
Yeah, because she actually thinks they're disgusting.
Yeah. Well, and your first episode was face palming a child and keeping it away from you.
A street rat
These are
kid.
street rats.
What did I say? It's gonna pick our pockets, and what did it do? Picked our pockets. A little flea.
Who was that? Was it Tawny or was it a different one?
It was not Tawny.
No.
So then this is a very simple, very quick question is, would you, if in real life, would you get along with your character?
No.
I'd go on dates with her. We would have so much fun.
Man, that's got a follow-up question to it, I'm sure. What about you?
Yeah, I'd get along with my character.
Nah, easy enough. Do you think Grizz would get along with his character?
I don't know.
Well, my character's not a jerk, so I get along with my
Yeah.
character. And Grizz, I don't know.
So there was one question, and we'll try and answer this one succinctly, just because I since you brought that up in that way, we did have a character in our original 6 that had a non-binary LGBT, not flavor, but because that's not, but
Oh, they were
was
transitioning.
representing, right? They were transitioning, and they were very thoughtful in the approach to that. And how did that kind of how did you role play along with that? I saw a lot of discovery where we were asking and being thoughtful about it, but where do you guys think that lies for RPGs and for at the table? What's the approach?
I love it. I have to say, so when I started playing D&D, obviously none of that was even like something that most people recognized or even knew about. I didn't know about it. But I was a little kid picking my nose and playing 2nd edition. However, once I started interacting with the LARP community in America about 3 years ago, I was introduced to a whole much wider amount of nerdy, wonderful people. And the LARP community especially is going through this kind of 2nd-generation LARPer aspect, where 1st-generation LARPers, some of them are very old school in their approach. The game is more important than the person. The scene is more important than your feelings. If you have problems, if you have bleed where your real-life feelings and the feelings of your character intermingle, there's good bleed and then there's bad bleed. And if you have bad bleed, then you need to sort it out yourself, buttercup. Suck it up. And that was a very old school, first wave LARPing philosophy. And now we're into the 2nd generation LARPers. And in second generation, it's like a feeling renaissance where there's so much more empathy and so much more feeling. There are check-in symbols of checking if people are okay, and they can be like yes, no, those types of things. There's always the idea of like, if you're having trouble with a scene, then there are symbols to basically show that you're having trouble, or you're allowed to drop out of character and say, hey, I'm not okay with how this scene is going. I'm not going to avoid the consequences, but I don't want to roleplay to the end of this. Can we fade to black and then just talk about consequences now, because it is making me as a person hurt. And along with all of that emotional aspect, there's also the self-actuation that roleplay has the amazing ability to actually go on. And like LARPing and roleplay and D&D is therapeutic. It is not therapy on its own.
Right.
But it is a wonderful place, as a friend of mine has talked to me recently about, is a wonderful avenue for self-actualization and experiencing and learning more about yourself, being able to put on a different hat for a little while, experiment with it, and then decide, you have the agency to go, I didn't like that character, I'm going to re-roll.
Sure.
And I've met a lot of wonderful friends that I hold very dearly now in the LARPing and roleplay communities that have learned about themselves through experimenting with their characters, what type of people they are, including coming out as non-binary or other genders, and it's amazing.
Right.
And I think it's so powerful and a wonderful, wonderful avenue for this. And I'm sorry, I'm taking up
That's
some of it.
okay. Dungeons and Dragons has implemented inclusivity in these cities. Waterdeep is an inclusive city with a variety of races and genders, and it just is a part of the culture. It's put into the books that there isn't, that there aren't judgments in that realm. There
Right.
are little countries here and there that do have, racism and stuff like that, but it's not about the racism. It's about how people overcome that and treat each other around that.
Right.
So I love that Sharn is similar. And so that was, that was something within our characters. It was natural. It wasn't a thing. It wasn't this weird thing that was happening. We didn't make it we didn't stand it out in front of us. It was just a part of us.
Right.
That whole thing where you were working with her, and that was, I don't know if that was a spoiler, but and she wanted to be a she. And so she, I gave her little pointers.
Right.
That is what would have happened in real life, and that's what happened in the game, and it was very natural.
Yeah, Warforged almost have as similar as they seem to robots, they actually have a kind of non-binary bend in the beginning where they don't really associate themselves one way or the other because they didn't really need to.
Well, for the first 5 years or so, and then
Yeah.
they become, individuals,
Right.
and then they get to explore what they choose to, their preference to.
Exactly. In the last 2 years or so in game time. And it's actually the majority of Eberron is going to be open and inclusive to most things. The largest discrepancies that you typically have are not based on race or gender or any persuasion, but more so about the nation that you come from.
Nation versus nation
Mhm.
because
Oh,
of the war, which
Right.
is what the entire last century was about.
Exactly.
Yeah, Lassian didn't know anything about these people on this weird continent anyway, so he just took everything at face value. So that was just, oh, you want to be a she? Okay.
Right.
Of course, I went through that whole thing in Orphan Echo as Lucky. You got to find out that Lucky was asexual, did not choose a gender, and stayed in it.
Yeah. Chose to.
But he chose the term it.
It chose
Yep.
to.
Even in some of the books, there's this wonderful Brelish. Is it Brelish or Brelish?
However you want to do it.
Brelish?
Depends.
So there's kind of one of many different catchphrases or just colloquialisms and sayings. And I dropped it because I read it in the book. I dropped it in character in one of the scenes in our earlier episodes, which is different is different.
Right.
Yeah.
And I love the philosophy behind that catchphrase. And I haven't really encountered another situation where Felix can actually throw that in again. But I love that one, and I wanted it to become kind of a common thing for him to say, because it was listed as something that they would say.
It is a common term, yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's just such a powerful reminder of that kind of philosophy, of that inclusivity being there and being present.
So thank you guys for having those, for kind of sharing your insight and some of the things, not only with the characters, but also with D&D. It's been really nice to just get to sit and talk with you guys about that. And sometimes like we get to talk about the characters, but they're off screen. And I think that it's nice to be able to share that a little bit, where everybody gets the opportunity to voice in some questions and see what's going on with that. I know that at least Kyle is very open on the Discord. So if anybody here is not on our Discord, you can pop in. We're usually bouncing around there from time to time. You can find us there, and we do tend to answer questions from time to time in the Inkwell chat. But these are nice, and I think that maybe we should continue doing something like this every so often, where people can actually start to ask us about maybe certain decisions that were made during the game from your character's point of view. Those are fun little tidbits that help us all kind of have a little bit better insight, and things that, as a dungeon master, like you guys will send me journals every now and then that kind of just update me on like what was important to you as a player or as a character in that last session. And those are really helpful for me. But sometimes there's questions that we don't think about that I don't know to ask, that these are good things to bring into play. And one of the things that we haven't really gotten to play with as much as as I had hoped so far was the very specific races to Eberron, those species. Like, we do have a shifter in the party, but we don't have a Warforged now. We don't have a changeling. And
Kalishtar.
Yeah, and the Kalishtar. And where did they fall in there? And what is the normal races in D&D? Like, how do they feel about some of those? Almost like if you were to drop a Githyanki into the middle of somewhere that doesn't normally have them. Like the Sharnatars. Stuff like that. So thank you guys for coming and tuning in. Don't forget to go through and take out our sponsors, from Black Magic, who makes us look great, to Wormwood, who gives us awesome things to roll on, and Level Up Dice to roll in. And then, of course, when we're not here or actually at the table getting to play, we do have Idle Champions to just kind of keep our mind and that little twitch that we get available. Sirenscape, thank you for providing us with the tunes. And yeah, Vlanya, we didn't get to mention that yet, but Sirenscape, Rook and Raven for your awesome sponsorship on World Anvil 2, who provide us with the ability to track our campaign and our characters, whether on paper or from a website, which I do most of your campaign building in World Anvil. And you guys do a lot of yours on paper right there with some of the Rook and Raven stuff. So along with that, thank you guys again. And I know I mentioned Level Up Dice for the things that we roll, but we actually have some really awesome dice that I think we should probably show off next game, because you guys just recently got them. Thank you again for Dungeons & Dragons. You guys have made this possible because you've given us this wonderful game to play and given us the opportunity to have shows like this where we can further kind of elevate the community and make us all do well. You can see our Twitter handles are in and around here. You can also find us on other various forms of media, whether that is the podcast, on Sirens of the Realms, or
Dungeon Master's Guide,
or on some of the behind the scenes kind of, Where Are They Now? The Room Actors, Where Are They Now characters.
Amazon Prime.
On Amazon Prime. And you can also see us hear us in Sirenscape, some of the Vlanya or the Gazers, the team voices some stuff in there.
Vlanya's not on there.
Not yet. I voiced Dernan on there. And then also we'll be doing some more voiceover work so you can hear us and see us in other avenues very soon. Did you have something to add?
Yes.
What do you got?
Ken. I love talking about all of these things, and some of the things that I mentioned and I got to talk a little bit about. That's a lot of what Ryan, Cynthia, and I do with Life Action Roleplay. So if that's something that interests you guys, please check us out. There's so many episodes. So. Yeah.
And don't forget to check out, if you're in the LA area, your LARP.
Yeah, what LARPs do you got?
So I play in something called Twin Mask, which is in SoCal. I run a game called Dystopia Rising NorCal, which is in kind of Central California Marina area. We have an abandoned military base that we rent out, and once a month we have a post-apocalyptic zombie survival adventure there. And the website for that is dystopiarisingnocal.com. It's a weird website name, I understand that. But yeah, dystopiarisingnocal.com. And that has all of the dates and all the links to the Facebook pages and things like that for you.
Cool.
And I know it's getting late over there. It's starting to get late here. So we just wanted to say thank you again from Inkwell and the Dungeons and Dragons family. And we hope to see you back here after we come back from the break in like 2 weeks, 3 weeks. We'll let you know.
Too long.
Yeah, keep in tune to the Maze Arcana, Inkwell Society, and Sirens of the Realms Twitters, and of course, D&D's Twitter, because that's where all of the news comes from. That's where I live. That's where Satine lives. We'll see you a little later. Have a wonderful holiday break, and we'll be excited to share some more Inkwell very soon.